Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Moore.
Here.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Present.
Councilman Isilli.
Here.
Councilman Patrick.
Here today.
All right, today this is such a great occasion that we're gathered to go over the final traffic mitigation report. Thanks for coming, everybody. We've got our Chief Kiernan, Highway Superintendent Charlie McCardle, Public Safety and Emergency Management Administrator Ryan Murphy, and Thomas Neely, Consultant, TFN Associates. Okay, Michael. Well, this is your.
Yeah, I'll start off. Today we're going to be reviewing the draft traffic mitigation and safety task force final report. I just want to say a few things before we begin. First and foremost, I want to thank the board here, as well as the task force committee members, for all of their work, for helping with all of our 6 meetings. I do want to actually just mention who the members of the task force were. We had Tom Neely and Charlie McCardle as our chairs. We had you, Supervisor Moore. We had myself. We had Police Chief Kiernan. Fred Thiel, then Assembly Member. We had Legislator Ann Welker. We had Charlie Bartha, the Commissioner of Public Works. We had Mayor Bill Menger from Southampton Village. We had Lisa Gorey, Shinnecock Nation Chairperson. We had Tom Houghton on our task force at the recommendation of both council members Bill Pell and Cindy McNamara. We had Donna Kreinborg and Jason Corti as our fire and EMS representatives. And we also had Stephen D'Angelo, our business representative. And we also, I really would be remiss if I didn't mention Ryan Murphy, as well as Janice Scherer, who really played a very vital role in sort of addressing some of the issues that came by us throughout the work that we did. This was really, truly a grassroots, bottom-up exercise to trying to examine the traffic problem and find various solutions. There was a lot of discussion that we had, a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, and what this report serves as is a culmination of all of those conversations, as well as all of the thoughts and potential solutions that were discussed. Subsequent the discussions that we had, we evaluated some of those solutions. We took various commentary from the public, and we tried our very best to quantify that and to analyze that. It's important to mention that previous efforts toward traffic mitigation had been top-down. Through this work, the public played a really integral role in the process. Each meeting had a public component. We had 6 meetings. In each of those meetings, we had a public section where people came up to the podium and expressed their thoughts. And we collected emails as well from the public. We set up an email address called traffic@southamptontowny.gov, where we collected additional information from the public. And we recorded all of those concerns, and they are featured in this report in a summary in the appendix. Right, Tom? That's correct. The Highway Department's innovative solutions that we have seen over the last couple of years, blinking yellow light, cone program, all of those programs really served, I really want to mention this, as an inspiration to this work, finding ways we can actually be innovative and provide some solutions. So I really appreciate the Highway Department, Charlie, your department, Mark, playing a really integral role in all of this.
And the new pilot program proposed by Charlie's included.
Yes, and the new pilot program is included in this report. But the Highway's response as well throughout the process when we received public concerns, you and Mark really were fast and swift in your responsiveness. I also want to state that County DPW has been a great partner in this process. We have met with the County Executive's Office, his legislative team, and DPW on a couple of occasions outside of the task force's meetings. Myself and Supervisor Moore In particular, I know also the Highway Department as well met with DPW. DPW Commissioner Charlie Bartha served as County Executive Romaine's appointment to the task force. So I want to thank them for all of their assistance with this. I want to also thank Christine Scalera, our assistant town attorney, for a deputy town attorney. I apologize, for all your help in working on getting this legislation put together, helping us with the timeline, which was, fast moving. It was my second week in office that me and Christine sat in my office discussing how we were going to put all of this together. So I really appreciate all your work. And finally, I just want to thank the police department for all your efforts in responding to all the various issues, for sitting down and having those discussions with us about these issues. Your partnership with the highway department has been integral, as well as with our office. And Tom, thank you for helping move the report along. Honestly, you've been an excellent public servant for the town of Southampton. You have consistently shown up. You've put a lot of effort into trying to improve the quality of life for so many people in the town for many years. Yesterday we were at the North Sea Solar Array unveiling. Myself, Supervisor Moore, and Councilwoman McNamara. Frank Zappone was there. He's been putting so much effort into a lot of our renewable energy goals. You yourself have been a staple to this town, and I just want to say I commend you for all your work. So thank you. I just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm sorry, but there's just been so much effort that has been put into this, and I really want to acknowledge all of those folks.
That's important too. It was a collaborative effort, and it's important to.
It was a collaborative effort, and really, again, this product serves as a culmination of what we discussed, all of our meetings, some of the primary objectives, and so Tom, I'll hand it off to you to get started with coursing over the report.
Thank you, Councilman. I thought maybe the best way to approach this morning, as a working process, would be to go through almost a page by page, brief mention of the key points on the pages as we go through it. If you see things that you have questions, of course, obviously anybody here at this side of the table, if there's any questions or comments about anything as we go through it, feel free to jump in and we can discuss those. The report itself is about 40 pages. Just so you know, the back half or back 2/3 are a bunch of 50 pages. It kept growing, but I think they once said about great artists knows when to stop. And I'm neither a great nor an artist, but I think we said it's time to stop. So the back half of the book are basically appendix items, and also want to mention right up front that the task force meetings themselves, the PowerPoints that were presented during the task force meetings, the minutes, the agendas, the videos, the YouTube videos of all those meetings are available on the town website. So we don't have the PowerPoints in here. We have some information from some of the PowerPoints and some of the meetings, obviously you'll see. But anyone that wants to see the whole meeting or the whole PowerPoint or whatever should go to the town website for that information. So, in the spirit of kind of walking through it, Councilman went through the list of all the folks that were on the task force and the number of people that participated that weren't formal members of the task force. Pages 1 to 7 are the introduction section of the report. And in that, some of the highlights, we talk about the growth, population growth, the traffic growth, the impact on the quality of life, what we've been experienced, previous efforts to try and address the issues. The introduction then briefly summarizes the work of the task force as originally outlined in the town board resolution authorizing the task force. The process of the agendas and meetings is described, as are the goals and objectives of the task force, and briefly describe the elements contained in this final report. As I said, the individual items, the individual meetings are available on the town website.
In the introduction, Tom, what was the it mentions right off the bat in the beginning of the report, the population growth from 2000 to...
Thank you. Yes, the starting point, I'm glad to mention that. So a couple of highlights from this initial section. The starting point, where we all begin, is the fact that the South Fork population grew by 27% between 2000 and 2020. South Fork meaning both East Hampton Town and Southampton Town. We're going to get a little deeper into that later in the report, but 27% population growth obviously is very, very significant for any community. And we'll talk again a little bit about why we mention East Hampton in this, but a significant amount of the traffic that we find in our town is simply going to or from East Hampton. So that's why East Hampton is included in this total. So the creation of this task force was a direct result of these growth-related issues. As described, the task force members represented a variety of people, interests, and areas of knowledge, each with unique perspective on the issues. In addition, public input was a critical component of the process. The public involvement process helped ensure that, as Councilman said, this wasn't a top-down effort, but was a grassroots and bottom-up oriented project. The contribution, again, of Janice Schurer and members of her staff, and Ryan and other people also are acknowledged. The importance of working in a collaborative way, both within the town and with outside agencies and the community, most immediately regarding the Suffolk County DPW County Road 39 corridor study, is reinforced in this section. Finally, the introduction expresses the belief that the work of the task force and the findings and recommendations contained in this report will guide the town board in developing a coherent, systemic way to address these issues going forward. And so that's kind of my summary of the introduction. If there's anything anybody has seen in that.
Well, Tom, I just want to emphasize before you move on to the next section, which discusses the history. I just want to mention the last paragraph of the introduction. Really kind of serves up the next step, or what is recommended as the next step. Mainly, however, the task force final report concludes that a comprehensive traffic and transportation master plan will be a necessary next step to properly evaluate and enact structural remedies to speed and congestion on secondary roads caused by main arterial traffic issues. So that is one of the main findings of this report. It has been mentioned several times when we have embarked on individual traffic remedies that a comprehensive approach is needed. With Councilwoman McNamara has made that statement a couple of times in various efforts that we've tried to embark upon. So what this report does is kind of establish some sort of comprehensive framework that we need to solidify and fill in. So I just want to make mention of that.
Thank you.
One thing on the growth, we mentioned a 27%.
Yeah.
So I know that's not just this township, but maybe we should mention how the municipalities, each department, how they grew during that time frame.
That's a good
Or
point.
didn't grow. Or even got reduced.
Okay.
That's a good point.
So if you have something, and not to step on Jimmy's toes, but if you have something like the police department that was reduced during this time period or not backfilled, or if you have the highway department that was reduced or any other service that was reduced, I think we should note that, or maybe didn't keep up to speed. No pun intended.
And later we do have to break out Southampton and East Hampton, so we could
Put
be
that
more
together.
exact correlation.
Okay, we can move on.
Okay. Pages 8 and 9 briefly outline some of kind of the key points in history, or in our history on the South Fork. In the 1970s, 1980s, a concept plan to extend Sunrise Highway to the South Fork, or through the South Fork, was proposed to the South Fork, was proposed by the state. We do have a copy of that original document, and I have the cover somewhere here in mind. If we have time to look at some visuals that I have, that concept plan began in 1972. Long story short, that the funding was actually included in the state budget for that project. However, after several years of I think community opposition and contentious back and forth over the issue, the funding for that project was withdrawn from the state budget. So that was There was additional study in 1984, done a corridor study or a regional study by the DOT. Won't get too far into that. Again, there's mention of that in some more detail in the meeting presentations, meeting PowerPoints, both some that I gave and the one or two that the county gave in their PowerPoints. In 1999, the town comprehensive plan was adopted. It started in 95, as you know, and was adopted in 1999. I was actually a member of that comp plan committee. A task force, as a result of that comp plan being adopted, the task force was authorized to continue to work on transportation-related issues. Some of the transportation issues were covered in the 99 plan, but it wasn't enough, wasn't complete enough, in depth enough that the town board authorized a task force continue the work. And I was on that task force. Because of the ongoing interest in pursuing transportation options, around 2000, the Southampton Town Board authorized the hiring of a highly regarded transportation consultant to come in and work with the town on transportation options, transportation possibilities. That study was called the Southampton Intermodal Transportation Study, or SITS was the acronym for it. The study's primary, after a couple of years of work, and the gentleman actually had an office here in Town Hall to work out of, and I was on the task force at the time. The study's primary recommendation was that the town pursue implementation of a maglev rail system. If you're not familiar with that concept, that is a train that is above ground, powered by magnetic forces. It's used, as opposed to diesel engines or things like that. It's used in some, it's been implemented, I believe, in Japan and some other places around the world. At that time, it was cutting edge, state of the art. This consultant recommended the town pursue that project, and it was going to be installed over County Road 39. The town board deemed that impractical, being very politically correct there. The town board deemed it impractical, and no further work was authorized by the town board for that consultant to do. And the other study recommendations, some of which have merit, probably looking back, were just not pursued. In 2004, the town board adopted the Transportation Elements Plan, which was the addendum to the comp plan. It provided an assessment of conditions at that time and outlined a number of long-term recommendations. Some of those recommendations which were pursued included creation of the Town Transportation Commission and establishment of the Transportation and Traffic Safety Division. Some recommendations were not pursued, such as exploring the feasibility of a road adjacent to the LIRR tracks or a widening of State Route 27 and Watermill Bridgehampton corridor. Other recommendations ultimately led to the start of the South Fork Commuter Connection and adoption of the County Road 39 corridor plan, the zoning and access management plan, which again we'll talk a little bit more about later. The Transportation Elements Plan also presented initial concepts regarding improvements to County Road 39. These led to the development of a County Road 39 long-term improvement plan by the Town Transportation Commission working with Suffolk County DPW. These long-term County Road 39 improvement plans envisioned a landscaped median, shoulders, jug handle turns, and roundabouts at several locations along County Road 39.
Tom, can we move a little bit along to, if you don't mind, because I think the history is really important.
Okay.
And we do outline a lot of what you're saying in this section, and I think at the conclusion of this section, we do say that the core challenge remains, however, how to reconcile the urgent need for traffic mitigation with the deeply held concerns of residents for systemic structural changes. So let's move on to summary and findings, just so we can, because we only have an hour. So yeah.
Sure. Sounds good.
Thank you, Tom.
So we go to page 10, which is the summary and the findings. The two quotes at the top, congestion and speeding, are two sides of the same coin, and that came from a Federal Highway Administration official that I met with a number of years ago when I was here at the town in discussing the issues that we faced. And the implications of that. That was kind of how he summed it all up. The second quote, "The entire roadway network east of Sunrise Highway is insufficient," was made by Bill Hillman, the chief engineer at the time, now retired, but chief engineer at the time, when he made his July 31st presentation to the task force with regard to where they were on their County Road 39 corridor study. And I think that quote really hit home. You know, he's basically saying, you know, we're way over capacity, you know, everywhere east of the canal. So those really help envision, you know, those highlight our problems. Again, during these meetings, we talked about the viewing of our roads as a living, fluid, connected network, even to the point where some roads are identified as arterial roads, and that it's a very dynamic movement of vehicles through all of our road system. GPS has had a major impact on the flow of traffic in the town. I'm sure everyone sitting at this table uses GPS, you know, sometimes, often, all the time to figure out the best way to go. And what that has done is it's upended the way our road system works. You know, what used to be little local streets, or what they call collector roads, you know, have now become main roads due to the congestion at the congestion on the what should be the primary corridors. So again, just to summarize, we had 6 meetings with multiple professionals giving presentations on traffic congestion, traffic safety, traffic enforcement, land use, and public transportation. Every meeting had 30 to 40 minutes of public comment, and about 65 emails were received via the traffic at Southampton Town.gov email address. Now, on page 12 and 13 is some information I think you would find of interest. This is information on national and town police information on crashes and speeding, because one of the overriding comments we got from members of the community, and everybody here has received individually, you know, over their careers, over their lifetimes, is the concern about speeding. I'd say 80 to 90% of the comments the town received through the comment period or the emails, 80 to 90% had to do with safety concerns. Within that, the majority of them had to do with speeding, along with overall volume and with trucks. When you look at page 12, you'll see a chart that shows the impact of, no pun intended, shows the result of a pedestrian being hit at 20 miles an hour. They stand a 10% chance of dying, of it being a fatal accident. If the speed is doubled to 40 miles an hour, the chance of that person dying is 8 times greater. So it just shows what speeding can do to a person, to safety. In 2024, the town police responded to 2,376 crashes, 440 resulted in injuries. That's 18% of the accidents resulted in injuries, and 81% of those incurred property damage. Some other research that's in here, national research done at, I believe, 600 different locations across the country, found that 15 to 20% of all motorists travel at 10 miles an hour or more over the posted speed limit, which, based again on my previous time here at the town working with the police and looking at a lot of speed monitor data, I think we probably fit right in that same category of 15 to 20% going more than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. So whether the speed limit's 20, 15 or 20% are going 30. If the speed limit's 40, 15 to 20% are going 50. That's what this study showed. Regardless of what the speed limit says, that's the number that are going 10 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. On page 13, we have a comparison of monthly crash data, again provided by the town police, with monthly traffic volume data taken at the end where Sunrise Highway meets County Road 39, or just west of there, the Conic overpass. There is a state DOT traffic volume counter, counts traffic 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So, we use that for a lot of traffic volume data for the town. So you see the comparison of the two charts, and there appears to be some correlation between traffic volume and crashes, but it's not quite that simple. And again, I think that goes back to Councilman's point that one of the things we recommend and would look at as part of a comprehensive traffic safety plan would be to really look carefully at crashes. You can look at them where they occur. You should look at how they occur, why they occur, what the conditions are. Those things all help enlighten the traffic safety plan, which helps enlighten the town on the best way to address those issues. On page 14, we briefly recap some of the locations and traffic safety actions taken by the town, including the installation of sidewalks, speed display monitors, and crosswalks. We also talk about the increased funding for traffic safety-related improvements in 2025 and how those funds may be used.
Such as additional police officers.
Right.
Okay, and what else? We also we procured additional speed monitors.
Right, and higher technology speed monitors, I believe, that will again be more interactive in terms of collecting data and transmitting data, so it can be used to target times of aggressive speeding.
I wouldn't word the police officer part, the way it's worded in here. It says that, that we hired 4 police officers. It really doesn't translate to what actually happened. So I think it'd be more appropriate to say the town board continues to support growth in the police department with some resources expected to be dedicated to traffic enforcement.
Okay.
And I have seen the
The
squad
pacer,
cars out there, and the people do slow down when they see them, and the monitor seems to be having an impact as well.
Then pages 16, I don't want to forget, we also at page 14, 15 talk about the need to address the collaboration with the emergency services, fire and ambulance in roadway planning and design for crash responses. And again, we touched upon that in this next section.
Just one thing, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think we talked about the use of the speed monitors with the cameras, that there might be a possibility, I thought it was going to be researched, that town code violations can be issued instead of DMV violations. For instance, like the no left turn on shrubland. If we had a monitor there that took pictures, would that be efficient evidence to give a town code violation?
From my understanding, and I had a conversation with the state on this, that would need, and it's mentioned speed camera technology in general, if you're issuing some sort of citation.
I think you might be.
for vehicle and traffic law.
So just specifically for a violation.
So that's vehicle and traffic.
Yeah.
If we revert to writing a ticket for a town code violation, the state has no issue with it.
Right.
So that should be researched. I don't know if legislation should be drawn up, but it could be a good opportunity to utilize town code violations by
So yes,
evidence of.
in general, I support that, and I think we did discuss that. But my conversations with the state and with the town attorney's office was that we would need state enabling legislation for that. But I'm happy to defer to the town attorney's
Yeah,
office.
there are certain things that we could do ordinances for, like you have the ability to do that for like no right turns or no, certain.
I believe some of the turn restrictions are
Okay.
listed as town code violations.
Yeah, that we can do. We just can't get into like state speed limits and those types of things.
And they would be written as a town code violation, not a vehicle and traffic law.
Okay, so we could add that in here, Tom.
So
We
we can explore that subject a little more. We do talk about the subject of speed cameras
We do
a little
later.
and exploring that further, the issue of
The
town
ordinance,
code
yeah,
violations.
you could do that.
Okay, we can put something in there about that. Okay. That's
That's a good distinction, Sydney, thank you.
It's a total difference, and we'd be able to utilize the equipment that we bought to enforce town code violations,
Okay.
which would get the point across.
Can we move on to the evolving approach to traffic safety?
Yes, page 16.
And just be mindful of the time.
Be brief.
Yeah.
I was gonna, Sunday is left, I was gonna ask her to do a little timer every 1 minute, so I didn't go over, but.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Thank you. Here we talk, and we talked again in more detail during the presentations, the meetings themselves, the three kind of basic approaches to traffic safety, something called the 3 E's, which is kind of has been the standard for years in traffic engineering, which is traffic engineering, public education, and enforcement. That was kind of the what everybody hung their hat on for many, many years as the way to approach traffic safety. It's evolved over the years. The concept of what's now known as Vision Zero, which we probably heard a lot about, especially in New York and Hoboken and some other nearby places. Vision Zero is a little more proactive. They take a little bit more of a holistic approach than kind of those traditional 3 E's. And now and it's gaining popularity. Now the Federal Highway Administration has kind of picked up on that and created another evolution called the Federal Highway Administration Safe Systems approach to traffic safety, which again kind of takes a bigger look at design, who the road users are, the vehicles that are involved. Now that of course is beyond our capability in terms, although again inspections would be different, but design of safe vehicles, safe speeds, which we'll talk further about, and I know the board is interested in. And interestingly, these get into crash and post-crash. What happens when a crash occurs, and what happens? How do you evaluate that afterwards? Again, with a proactive eye.
And I would just say that this is to sort of tie the education with the enforcement. The police chief has been integral to that work. We've been working together, Chief, to work on developing a PSA strategy, and we're going to be doing that. So, we've been realizing that our various efforts toward public service announcements, whether they be through social media or other forums, we are going to get the word out through our CTV channels, through social media, to remind people that we have rules of the road to sort of garner that compliance with our local laws. So that this particular section does really talk about how recommending how the town sort of marries enforcement with education. So
that's right. Then we'll go on to the congestion issues, which are page 18 to 22. As we mentioned, population of both towns grew about 27% in the last 20 years. Population of Southampton town grew by 25%, or 13,820 people since between 2000 and 2020. And this is all U.S. Census data. East Hampton's population grew by 32%, or 6,900 people. And we do cite the growth in East Hampton because one of the elements presented by the county as part of their corridor study is that about 50% of the traffic is going right on through. That's coming in on Sunrise, is going right on through to East Hampton, which is consistent with research the town had done in previous years.
Did you do any research where if any East Hampton in the morning coming this way to go to work?
That research is available, but
that
we did not look
Yeah.
at that. That's a good.
That's why they had more growth, because the houses could be cheap out there. The workforce could have went out there and come this way.
Coming the other way. Yeah, that's interesting. Like called the reverse commute. We can take a look at that. Suffolk County has what they call journey to work data, which is again a byproduct of the census. So we can take a look at that. That's interesting. Don't want to spend a lot of time, but 20% of the traffic coming in on 39 is destined for Southampton Village, 10% to North Sea, 7% to Shinnecock Hills, 5% to Tuckahoe. Again, that comes from the county research that they've done. As we talk about in the report, the growth, there's been tremendous growth in population, there's been tremendous growth in commercial and residential development. In the 10-year period, or about 10 years, September 2014 to December 2024, 36 development or redevelopment or change of use applications involving County Road 39, fronting on County Road 39, came before the town planning board. So that's 3.5 applications for some kind of development along 39 that's come before the planning board every year for the last 10 years. The town, with the help of town planning and land management department, we got some information on building permits. And again, you'll see on page 19, building permit applications for residential home additions last year, 269, 290 the year before. New home building permits, 201 last year, 208. So that's, in 2 years, that's 409 new homes being built in the town. New garages.
Is that broken up from over the canal, east and west?
We don't. We'd have to ask if land management is able to break that out. That's another good question. We can find out if that information is available.
If 500 is west, then it's only.
Right. That's a good question.
I think this is actually a really illuminating fact find here, and that is that there are concerns, generally speaking, of overdevelopment in the town of Southampton, and what we see here is that there does seem to be a relationship between the increase in traffic as well as development patterns, and that I think confirms a lot of community concern that they see a rapid pace happening of commercial and residential development activity, and that has certainly impacted our traffic here in the town of Southampton.
Absolutely. And we don't have data for East Hampton, but I think we can assume they're having growth there that's impacting us as well. I also thought on the building permits, one of the interesting statistics I pulled there, and they do have 61 categories of permits, and the number issued under those 61 categories, if you want to look, it's in the appendix. But full house demolitions, there were 132 applications in 2024 to demolish full house. The neighborhood I live in, south of Sag Harbor Village, within walking distance of my house, 4 homes have either been demolished and totally rebuilt or substantially reconstructed within the past.
So you want to look at
Which-
there's actually only 70 new homes.
Right, which I was just going to say, it's important to take that into consideration because when we talk about overall development, you could have 20, 25, 50%, whatever, out of the total number of new home builds could be on an existing site that's simply replacing a previous home that was on that site. So it's not necessarily the development of a new parcel as much as it could just be the development of a new structure on an existing site.
But no doubt that even
Not that it doesn't add to traffic.
Right.
There's still jobs associated with that activity that are going to be coming and going and everything else.
Right.
But from the development perspective, it might not be a new site development.
So if
That's
you
all.
subtract the demolition from the residential new home permits, you could come up with some kind of.
Yeah, it's probably not. It's probably not spot on. There might be some that are being taken down and not replaced for whatever reason, but there's probably a pretty strong correlation between the two sets of numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the houses, again, there may be numbers substantiated, but I see it, in my neighborhood, nobody's building smaller houses. Everything is bigger.
Could you move on to discussing public transportation and affordable housing, especially as it pertains to congestion?
Okay.
And then we can kind of, if you don't mind, we'll go back to this section to talk about.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. We could talk about traffic volume. Public transportation, page 23. Wanted to talk a little bit about South Fork commuter connection. The train and bus service, which you're all familiar with, which started in 2019 and has shown, significant impact. It's taking, hundreds of vehicles off the road every day. As with everything, more when traffic gets busier, more people go to the train. When there's less traffic, people, probably go back to to driving. But there's a chart at the top of page 24 where we took not only South Fork commuter connection ticket sales, but all ticket sales on the South Fork. Because one of our theories on this all along is that by adding these trains, you've increased the frequency of service and the more likelihood of people being able to just use the regular train trips to get back and forth. So now you can go out at 8 in the morning and come back at noon. You didn't used to be able to do that, or go out at 10 in the morning and come back at 3. Until these were added, you didn't have the frequency on the South Fork to make those kind of choices. So we took some overall ticket sales and projected that in April of 2019 through March of 2020, we project perhaps 53,000 total local rides on the train. So all these ticket sales are between Spionk and Montauk, nothing going into the city. 4 years later, we believe those projections are up to something like 128,000 total rides on the train. So that, just wanted to point that out. So that's had a good impact, as I think we are all aware.
But it's worth noting too. I mean, it's had a good impact potentially for those commuters. It hasn't really made any difference in the congestion of the traffic on the roadways, and it has also had negative impacts on the downtown area of Hampton Bays having no parking, because now their entire downtown area is commuters trying to get to that Hampton Bays train station because it's the only one that meets the time frames that they need to get to and from work. So, I mean, it's had negative impacts too. It's not all positive, because, I mean, we're looking at now, like, their senior center has no parking because there's people parking in that lot to go to the train station. So without adding parking for this, it can expand. And it's also limited because I've heard from multiple people that if you get back, if you can leave from one area, but you can't get back there because the times don't work out. And there's also, people that have issues with, we live in a car-dependent society. So, if your kid gets sick from school, you can't get a train back. So there's issues with it too. It's taken people off the road, and the people that I do hear that use it, like teachers and people at town hall, do benefit from it. They no doubt they are happy to get on that train in the morning and ride out to work. But we are going to have to start looking at, as the ridership increases, the impacts to the areas that ridership is coming from.
And I think you bring up some very good points. This doesn't work for everybody. Hampton Bays, when we did this several years ago, we did create another parking lot on the other side of the tracks, which now I think is maybe being used by town employees and some other people that park there, because it is a little bit of a walk. One of the things that again we were looking at before I moved on was putting some restrictions on that parking. There on the train side of Good Ground, there were, and I believe still are, no parking restrictions. So cars can be there 24/7 forever. And I think that may be something that, again, the town may want to address, going forward.
And I think, Ryan, you could speak to this. I think some of the businesses that were using the lot at the senior center for overnight parking, where they were, their employees were coming to that lot and switching out vehicles and getting into the work vehicle and going out for the day, have now moved to the railroad plaza.
Yeah, well, we're still working on that in the lot at the senior center too. We have to get the parking restrictions. We had worked on it with the lot owner and adjoining property owner, and we have to get the restrictions put into place on that side too. But yeah, there's a lot of business use within the senior center lot, and a lot of, like, I would describe it as fleet vehicle storage in some cases, where 2 or 3 employees come in, get into one work van in the morning, so you're left behind with, potentially a couple of different cars, and then the work van is, stored there overnight, which is also similar to, you know, the description of potential activity on good ground too, with some of those parking spaces. So
So
yeah.
I think it's a good point to mention the parking, but I think it's also critically important to emphasize that what this shows is that there has been an increase in ridership. It does take cars off the road. You even admitted that. I mean, whether or not, you know, there are some other issues that come with that, I think we can certainly look at that and comment on it. But I think just in terms of one area, which, by the way, many of our local leaders have advocated for additional train service, and we're going to continue. It's part of the recommendations here is to continue advocating for additional service. It's just one out of many recommendations.
Right.
This
Right.
isn't the only one. In fact, it goes on to talk about working with the county to expand the on-demand bus.
Right.
So do you want to just
Right.
talk about that?
Right, but in
They-
addition, as a result of the advocacy from the town, that the MTA put in a budget line, right?
Yeah.
To put in new
Yes.
sidings
Yes,
and more
that-
trains, so
yes.
that'll help alleviate
There
the
is-
issues with the parking in Hampton Bays, because then people in Spionk would be able to get back and forth in West Hampton.
Right, improvements in, right, to get, some of those trains don't connect back, and you know, and we could talk, you might wanna look at the Bridgehampton parking model for Hampton Bays. So there's a lot we could talk about with that. And even the
with
Vol,
public safety going into the new building, you know, in Hampton Bays, that'll alleviate the parking of your employees at the train, because this building has its own parking lot.
Yeah, well, we've moved, with the exception of like 2 or 3 vehicles from animal control, everything else is already moved over to by the Verizon building from our staff. It's a lot. There's at least a dozen or more long-term overnight storage vehicles from surrounding businesses. We also have somebody that likes to drop off their Maserati on a regular basis and park it like right in one of our front stalls with a cover over the windshield and stuff. So
Well, we should do some.
I think some of it's like weekend visitors, seasonal people. A good portion of it is businesses that are using the lot. So, but we've got a plan. It's just a matter of me coordinating, getting the signs made for it and installed, and I'm working with Highway to accomplish that.
You know,
we got approval from the property owner for the complex too on the design that we're looking on.
Okay, thank you.
okay. And so, let me move on to discuss briefly the on-demand bus service, and I think this is a good conversation. Maybe we can have additional conversations about that parking situation at another time. Be glad to help on that. The county in 2023 initiated, they reimagined, they called it, their entire transit system for Suffolk County. One of the efforts that's gone forward is the Institute, they started a on-demand bus service between Sag Harbor and Southampton, primarily along the Noyak corridor. It doesn't include Bridgehampton. But it has been deemed a success. When it started as a pilot, a test, it carried 4,500 people. By 2023, according to a release from County Supervisor Romain's office, by 2023, there were 13,700 customers using this service. So it seems to be a success. It's kind of a hybrid or a variation on a private Uber or Lyft service in that you call and you have a vehicle come and get you and take you where you need to go between Sag Harbor and Southampton Village.
It's a bus.
But it's a bus, right,
Yeah.
correct. And yes,
Don't mean to interrupt you, but can we jump to Charlie's new plan?
Yeah, we will, but I think it's important just to mention that we can do that, but this talks about where to expand the on-demand program,
Okay.
where we can work with the county, and the western end of town in particular has long been deemed a transit desert,
right.
and expanding on demand. Do you want to just quickly just talk about
We
where?
believe that, and the town has advocated for something along Montauk Highway between Spionk and Hampton Bays for a long time, and that's never been implemented by Suffolk County Transit. We tried during their reimagining of the system, but we do believe that or variation similar to the on-demand service between Spionk and Hampton Bays would be a much-needed improvement for the residents on the western side of the town. And one of the recommendations is that we advocate for that. I'll skip over the affordable housing, because you know all the reasons for affordable housing, except for the one point that when you can locate it near transit, you're getting a win-win situation. And the Spionk Commons that the town facilitated right by the Spionk train station is the shining example of where you're able to combine two needs into one.
Yeah, I think it was important that this report captured affordable housing as an issue, as, you know, if we have more housing available for workforce, that could reduce the issues pertaining to traffic congestion. And it does also emphasize and recommend that any comprehensive plan update, because I know this board is looking at that, take a look at transit-oriented development. It is in the comprehensive plan, but this does lay out a couple of additional recommendations that I encourage my fellow colleagues to take a look at. But
Michael, do you have data on how many people in that affordable housing were actually town residents? Or did it actually bring in more people from outside?
I believe the data has stated that most of them are local.
Most of them.
Most of them, yes.
So affordable housing isn't just for residents.
Well, the whole point is of trying to create housing for people, workers, right? To be able to
Well, you're
afford to
talking
live
about
here.
workforce housing or affordable housing?
Well, I think, you know, we're playing with semantics if we're going to argue whether it's affordable housing or workforce housing. I think we're really aiming at how to find housing for workers. That's really the main goal here.
Well, affordable housing you have to qualify for. You don't have to be a resident. And workforce housing is some sort of town code that you have to be working in the town. Is that correct?
Not necessarily, no.
I don't think so.
So who qualifies for workforce housing?
This is for a larger conversation about housing policy.
The only program that's tied to working in the town is the
Accessory apartments.
no, wasn't it the down payment assistance
All right, we
program?
can move on. I didn't mean to interrupt.
There's fair housing laws that prohibit, you know, trying to identify people who live locally. We're having that conversation now as it pertains to our CHF policy.
I apologize. I just
That's
wanted
okay.
to bring up the
Yeah,
fact that it may bring more people into the town than.
We are looking at
It's
that.
a fair point, because if we're talking about, right, the cause of a lot of this is population increase, and you're talking about increasing density, you're increasing the population.
Well, that's why, again, we're talking about transit-oriented. That's why I'm saying we need to look at our development patterns. And any plan for affordable or workforce housing needs to account for the overall development patterns that the comprehensive plan foresees and considers traffic too. So that's all laid out in this section. But let's move on to the pilot
program. Do you want to talk about that, Charlie?
Thank you. And I'd like to thank Michael, the board, and not just because I'm on it, but you did put together an all-star team for this. And I have to say, look, relationships are made by these types of committees. And with those relationships, we have a better relationship with Southampton Village, with the county's highway department. I have somebody I can call direct, which in the past has never been available. You know, on page 22, there's some comments about some cone programs and what the timeframes were. And, you know, just I think we need to rework that. I don't think it's 100% accurate with the times. Some of these things were done by the county. Some of them were done, I'm not sure when, because it states about spring of 24. I don't think we had cones except on Canoe Place. But anyway, moving forward. The afternoon has been a big issue with complaints that we all heard during these meetings. And so we put together, with the help of the Chief Kiernan and the police department, Southampton Village, Suffolk County Highway Department. Suffolk County is issuing the permits, and we're going to do a major project on April 21st, which will go Monday through Friday through May 2nd, I believe. That Friday is the end, where, and it's a huge undertaking, huge. We're going to change the traffic patterns from North Sea Road straight to 27 on 39. Same thing on Montauk Highway, County Road 80, from the hours of 4 to 7. I believe 10 to close to 10 police officers are going to be involved. 3 from Southampton Village makes it 13. our highway department and Suffolk County Highway Department will block lanes, blink lights, and the goal is to see if we can get the afternoon traffic to stay on 39 and head out of town. I have to thank my department. We building signs, we rented digital signs. It is a major, major undertaking. But it's something that this task force, I think, was put together to do, and that's our plan.
Is that a 2-week pilot?
It's a 2-week pilot, and I'm grateful for that. We did a 1-week pilot a couple of years ago. I don't think 1 week is enough time for people to learn.
It's going to take them a few days to.
Agreed. Look, some people will be angry, but I think overall, I'm confident this is going to work.
One of the big questions I keep getting is the Tuckahoe Road light going to blink or is it going to be regular?
And I'm glad you brought that up because in here it has it as regular. I have the permit to blink it, and I think we were going to evaluate it as we go.
Okay, because there's some people that are concerned about having to go then all the way to Hill Station to come back.
Right. I wouldn't suggest if you wanted to go east to take St. Andrews because the turn would be horrible. But if you're on Tuckahoe, you can make a right to go east on
Yeah, I think it's
39.
the people that have to go between Tuckahoe and Hill Station.
Yeah.
The whole neighborhood back in Greenfield has to go all the way to Hill Station and then come back.
Where are they leaving from?
Some of them are coming from east, some of them are coming from the village.
Yeah, so you can always make a right turn to go east, or if you're on the.
But if they jump on at North Sea Road, right, they can hit the express lane and can they make a left
Of
out of the
course.
express lane?
You can make a left.
All right.
The only spot you can't make a left is McGee Street and Tuckahoe.
So their better bet then is just to come out of the village and go right up 39.
So I just want to say it in the report. It does mention, Charlie, the time savings of your programs that have been studied by some of our consultants. GPS data assessment. I know that what we would need to do is we would need something much more concrete. I know we're also awaiting some additional analysis from the engineering.
So just I don't mean to cut you off, but this was something that the supervisor had asked me about. We spent a lot of money on the study last time and the evaluation of it, and we're still waiting.
It's
on it.
mentioned. I just want to say
Okay.
that's all mentioned in a very comprehensive,
But what
transparent
we're
way.
doing this time is a live survey.
Right.
We're going to use a QR code, QR code, use both, a QR code, which will be handed out to everybody. We're going to advertise twice in the paper about this program. Everyone will have that, and we'll have live data that we can have evaluated as we go.
Anything that is going to be done to target the drivers is there going to be something on the signs, the electronic signs?
Well, they're not going to be able to go by and screen the signs.
Well, of course,
so if
but
they
is there
buy
gonna
the
be-
newspaper, it'll be on that.
Okay.
We're going to run advertisement. The schools are going to get it. The hospital's going to get it. All of that will be emailed to them. So anybody driving will have an opportunity to chime in on the survey.
Yeah, and
It's
we have
never been done before, and it'll be instant.
and we'll have and just if you don't mind,
Groundbreaking.
we'll
Yeah.
have we have that outlined here that there is a survey associated with
We
this.
should do it with the Western paper too,
Oh yeah.
not just our local.
Well, because Michael's very happy sitting back smiling when he's in the paper.
And you put it on 27 East and still get the QR code, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Tom, can we go over some of the long-term ones, if you don't mind, kind of going through it in a best as you can, swift,
Right.
but
Thank
Real-
you for those innovative ideas and good luck. I'm looking forward to it.
because I know we want to spend a few minutes going through the recommendations. So just real quickly, go through some of the, again, ideas that were considered, developed to various levels, and then never pursued. The first one on page 30 is the Tuckahoe Road proposal, which originated with Shinnecock Golf Course. They were going to, with the town's agreement, build a road between Shinnecock Golf Course and Southampton Golf Course, which is recommended in the town comp plan, close the portion of Tuckahoe Road that goes through the golf course. There were 2 or 3 different variations on this developed, but the goal, one of the benefits is that there would be a way to go north and south on St. Andrews without crossing 39. We also were looking into ideas that would basically create more of an interchange where Tuckahoe Road crosses 39 as opposed to the traditional traffic signal. This is an idea that goes back a few years, and I should mention the golf course had offered to pay for all of these improvements
At the
which
time.
was at the time. So that's just an idea I think should maybe get moved.
Worth mentioning too that the public was adamantly opposed to this, and they're ultimately the ones that killed this idea.
Well, emergency services supported it.
I'm talking
Um,
about the residents
Several,
of
I
the
was
town
here,
of Southampton.
there wasn't actually a public hearing over it. There was a work session in which the supervisor allowed members of the public to speak. I was there, 4 or 5 people did object. But again, that would be part of any process going
Yeah,
forward.
and
would be-
it's totally acknowledged in this report that there has been public opposition to these long-term solutions.
Right. So anyway, that's something hopefully maybe to consider in the future.
Do you know how long this paper road goes? Because it's supposed to be
Well, if you look, and again, there were 2 or 3 iterations on this,
paper
but
road goes even west.
it
right
goes
along.
up to, what's that, Sabonic?
No,
up-
I mean,
up
it goes
that-
right along. There's supposed to be a paper road that goes right
Oh,
along.
right along parallel there?
Yeah.
I
saw.
was involved in that many years ago, that this continues farther
Exactly.
west.
Yeah, it could go really west.
That was another one, became a point of great,
Yeah. 'Cause if they're going to
debate.
if they're going to build a hospital there, then they should take advantage of this
I'm
paper road.
glad you did mention that, because one of the ideas was to move that intersection a little farther west and create an interchange there. One of the reasons it was put on hold is, or the primary reason I should say, is that the hospital was, talking about moving to the college. This was 2016 or 2017, so it was decided to put that on hold. It's 8 years later.
They're still talking about it.
Still talking.
They need to raise the money.
Right. So maybe those conversations could be resumed, and public input obviously would be part of any decision. So Greenfield Road, that intersection, we know has been a cause of great concern. I think I had mentioned, the councilman, and I know Ryan and the chief have made efforts, and Charlie may have been involved. I don't know, with speed monitors, getting a tree cut to help make the line of sight improved. So there have been some improvements made, and I think I had mentioned to the board, or one of the work sessions, it was task force sessions. Right across the street, the Atlantic Hotel or Motel is going through redevelopment process. As a member of the town planning board, the planning board has asked for a traffic study of this whole corridor.
Yeah.
So we will get traffic data and accident data.
And I would just say, Brian, thank you for all your efforts with this particular section here. The residents are very pleased with all the work that's been done, so thank you.
Did we end up cutting a little back off the?
Not yet. The highway department's in the middle of evaluating that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the speed monitor and the tree removal.
Yeah, removing the tree added 60 or 70 feet of
Visual.
additional visibility at that intersection, and then the speed monitor. The residents commented on the last time that we met with them that they've anecdotally seen some changes as a result of that too. So I think between the two, and then we met with the gas station owner, and he's amenable to potentially changing that corner a little bit if we find that it makes sense for us to do, if it enhances any, visibility or access. Yeah.
Make it safer for his customers in the neighborhood.
As I said, we're still waiting at the planning board for.
But the
study,
property
but-
that cut the tree is also changing hands right now. Across the street is before the planning board. So that intersection itself has a lot kind of up in the air in terms of what may or may not be going on with it. So I think we're still kind of evaluating options with it, more or less. And then holistically, it's right down the road from the college site and everything else. It's a lot to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
So next on our list, trying to keep things moving, the idea of a roundabout at the intersection of Flanders Road, State Route 24, and Montauk Highway, County Road 80. This is another one that, there has been some further discussion of this, I think, in past months. This is an idea, again, that, should be, may want to be pursued.
What is the issue there specific? Can you just talk about what the issue there is?
Well, there's a significant number of accidents at this location. The county and the state, because it's a county-state, intersection, have exchanged correspondence over this. The town was involved in advocating for them to review this intersection. The state had a couple of other suggestions, such as putting in a traffic signal to guide the west to north traffic, putting in a traffic signal there. They provided some other suggestions to the county, but this has to be ironed out between the county and the town. And I think, again, the county and the state, I should say, and I think the town plays a role in advocating for something here. There is a belief for sure, or especially here, that this would probably make the intersection safer. Roundabouts generally are safer than signalized intersections, and may have a benefit with traffic flow. Now you have a signal a little bit east on Springville, and you have a signal a little bit west at the shopping center. That impacts the ability of the roundabout to help traffic flow, but we still think it would be a potentially advantageous over the current traffic signal setup there.
Was there a benefit, I know they talked about it a while ago, before the diner was sold, cutting through here and making a road behind here to good grounds? No?
Might have been what you perceived as a benefit, but I didn't perceive it as a benefit.
They're just putting more people into the neighborhoods.
Right. This idea would work with or without. That is, part of the Hampton Bays, plan from a long time ago, and I think the comp plan. But this concept could work with or without that.
Yeah.
That extension.
I just wanted
right.
Kelly's opinion on it.
So,
And the
I
plan,
didn't support
Can you
that.
guess what his opinion is?
the planning board anticipated that this could happen with respect to the design for the diner
Diner,
property,
yes.
right?
And-
So it's not gonna.
I'm glad you
prohibited.
mentioned that, because the diner folks, been in front of the planning board, have talked to the DOT about this possibility. So DOT is aware about their plans and vice versa. So
I would just be curious to know what the accident report data is at the traffic circle at 105 versus this intersection that doesn't have one. Because the people just do not they don't understand one lane traffic circles. You put a second lane in, and you take your life in your hands every time you go through there.
I hear it's
So-
gotten better, but that's not.
I mean, at the beginning they were
It's not having the
replacing the road signs like weekly.
And there was an issue with streetlights getting knocked down when I
Yeah.
was here. And yes, so that's. But again, that's another story. Okay, the next. Keep moving here. Montauk Highway at Canoe Place Road. There was discussion of having this intersection reevaluated. There was originally, the county did not then support the idea of having a roundabout evaluated there. I believe there was I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up with North Road. This is one that has problems, and again, we would suggest that maybe the county wants to take a look at this redesign.
You just need to put the yield lane back in.
By the way, I thought
Right.
Ann Walker said they had $1 million to do a study about a traffic
All
circle
they need
there,
to do is put the yield lane back in. It works fine.
when it was the county that messed up the whole intersection in the first place.
Right. Yeah, I think North Road was being studied after they improved it, and I think
But
I
I do want to interrupt that.
debatable perhaps.
From our new relationship with the county, we were able to get quickly a turn lane at Canoe Place, which never was there, which when the cones aren't there, at least helps people get out of that intersection.
Yep.
So I do have to thank them for that. I don't have to thank them for what they did on the North Road. We need that entrance going east to merge in at the bridge.
That's all it needs.
Just that
It works
property
fine with
was a quick claim to the county. It was a mistake. We need it back. So anyway, move on.
Yeah, so perhaps looking at a long-term solution, this is obviously where you do the blinking signal program, but a long-term solution to improve traffic flow here is something the county should be looking at. Now we're over to North Road again.
Get in touch with Ann Walker, maybe she can.
So it's like
She's
to
got
that,
the
to
money.
that point, the blinking light program works, and it's finding out how to make that work without the people involved.
Yes.
In the interest of time, we'll go quickly here. North Road, again, this is the one that we just talked about. County made changes to that intersection, which seem to have made it more congested and less user-friendly. They are supposedly reevaluating that intersection, but they really should be looking at both of these intersections.
Comprehensively.
And, you know, and I don't want to volunteer the town too far on this, but during the process of 39, you know, the town spent money working on concept plans and initial evaluations of ideas to give to, the town spent the money for the initial work to give to the town and give to the county and have some basis for asking them to reevaluate intersections. That may be something, if the town can't get, you know, the county to take the lead on it, for the town to possibly take some initial concept design work and then use that to go to the county. Next is the two considered roundabouts in Watermill, one at Little Cobb Road and Scuttle Hole Road. We have, you know, you can see the concept designs that the state developed. We've had, you know, some meetings, I know, discussions of it with the CAC and, you know, at our task force. My understanding, I think, is the state wanted a resolution from the town board asking them to look at this further. And
It's
that's where
recommended
we
that
are
we
right
do
now.
due to the consistent concerns that come to us on, and I know Charlie can attest to this, the congestion on Montauk Highway, especially the seasonal congestion.
Right. And, you know, with this idea, if it was implemented, would probably, the hope is it would allow for the elimination of that traffic signal in Watermill.
Just my fear with this would be it making Little Cobb even more of a pass through into that residential neighborhood than it already is.
So I just want to comment on that. We did a brief thing. We were doing work on Old Mill, so Old Mill was closed, and during that opportunity, we did a merge there, which was the traffic circle. And the people from the neighborhood of Watermill, Old Cobb Road, and in the back there praised us for it because Cobb Road was not backed up. So I'm in favor of the traffic circles on both ends of Watermill.
But I think with that, I think Old Mill needs to be shut down.
So Old Mill would only be a right turn.
Yeah.
It would only be a west turn, and they'd have to go just a few feet west to get into the traffic circle to travel east. And it would be the same thing on any turns going west, you have to go right. Any turns going east, you'd have to, and then you'd hit the traffic circle and come back.
That Old Mill intersection is a nightmare.
And we closed it for the project while we were doing drains, and it really worked.
Mhm.
And when you're on Montauk Highway and you're looking by Pumpkin Town, and if you don't see brake
You go
lights,
straight across.
you're going that way.
Oh, yeah.
If you see brake lights, you're going through the back. And that traffic circle, or that pattern that we did, there was no backup. We actually had to slow people down. And by the way, if you go to speed limit,
Did
you
it take the
stay.
people off of Little Cobb?
Excuse me?
Did
It
they
merged
stay
them.
on?
You could be on Little Cobb and Montauk Highway, and you just merged later by the Nun's place there, and it worked. It really worked. So
I think
yes,
Charlie's point is right. As they're getting to the end of 39, they look
Everyone's at the
left
edge of
to
their seat
Montauk
looking.
Highway, and if they don't see the cars backed up, they stay on Montauk Highway. If they see the cars backed up, they go
Go
down
straight across.
and take the back
they
way.
race down Flying Point, they
Yeah.
race down Cobb Road, and then they come out.
And,
They
and
also
I
go through the village to get the car.
and I kind of should have started with the statement with, you know, the reason roundabouts are we think, you know, may help at many of these locations is there's plenty of data to show that roundabouts are safer than traditional intersections and in most cases help the traffic flow better. So, you know, it's kind of a win-win versus traffic signals.
So for Noyak and Long Beach, this has been a topic of discussion. Do you want to, Charlie? Do you want to actually just let us know what we're doing
Sure.
with that section?
So the big push was for a traffic circle, and again, so the public understands that any town road that meets a county road, the county has the authority at that intersection. The county, I'm not sure, is interested in making it a traffic circle, doesn't have the funds or what the issue is, but we're stuck with it currently not to be a traffic circle. And by the way, if you look at
It doesn't look like it would be an expensive traffic circle to me.
if you look at it, there's, and Tom could speak on it, there was a couple issues with it, but it almost looks from GPS that it is a traffic circle. But anyway, moving forward, we've come up with an idea to put a stop sign traveling west on Nyack Road, just at the intersection of Long Beach. It should make sure that the people going east can all make their left to go to the beach, and the people that are coming west will have to just wait till it's clear, instead of that confusion on who goes.
You could put triangle in.
Yeah, there'll be a metal, a cement stamped triangle just to identify exactly where the stop sign is. And I mentioned to the Civic Association there in Nyack that, look, we're going to give it a shot.
If it doesn't work.
If it doesn't work, I'm not opposed to taking it down. We've caught a few people that made complaints, but again, they were confused and didn't really know what we were doing. So it's going in, I think, this week.
Yeah.
So we'll get the feedback.
And Charlie, this is part of a longer strategy to address some of the issues on Nyack Road.
Well, we're redoing Serene Green, that intersection of Stony Hill and Nyack. We're making that a T. Well, you come to a full stop instead of racing around the corner. And then again,
Mention of that.
and then another stop at Long Beach. So again, I'm not opposed to giving it a try.
Yeah, no, thank you for your work on that. And I just these potential solutions. I just want to just note that, as you can see, again, driven by where we got a lot of our concerns from: Watermill, Hampton Bays, Nyack. So just want to, and Flanders too. But you can see, as per some of where we received our comments from and our roads of note, where they're populated. We tried to augment these major infrastructure changes with where we were getting comments from. Tom, if you don't mind, I just want to take over just for a second,
Sure.
and you can kind of go over the roads of note just to kind of speed through this next section. I wanted to spend time talking about, just from a planning perspective, County Road 39. We had Janice come in, and she reviewed the corridor plan from 2015, and one of the outstanding things was that it was noted, it explicitly emphasized the necessity of strategically reducing curb cuts and ensuring cross access. And one of the conclusions from evaluating the plan was that we still have work to do in terms of satisfying the 2015 plan. So that town plan, I think, is really necessary, and the task force recommends that we go back to the County Road 39 corridor plan to find out how we can enhance cross-access even more than we have. And we have taken steps. I do want to credit the planning board and the planning department, but it recommends that we have to find ways to enhance it. There were discussions on a temporary moratorium or a short scope moratorium of development, but I think given what we know after Janice's evaluation, the task force would rather us take a look at how we could really enhance those key recommendations of the 2015 plan of ensuring cross-access and reduction of curb cuts.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. You can go on to the roads of note.
Just,
I'm just going to mention, because you were on traffic circles real quick, which I support wholeheartedly. I just want you to know it's not a magic wand. And
Right.
during the worst traffic times, it doesn't really help at all without some kind of intervention.
Yeah.
So although you might not have to have a police officer there, be like a traffic control device, you will need a TCO there, because one direction or the other will take over the circle and stop everything. So you still, during those heightened traffic times, will need some kind of probably a traffic control officer to monitor that, to ride the circle
Monitor the
and
traffic pattern.
let people in.
Sure.
Yeah, so
the
it
police
doesn't
department-
alleviate.
You
It's not
see that in Riverside. It backs all the way
Exactly.
down 105.
and that is, that's a good point, because that's one of the engineering considerations when they look at these and whether they're feasible or not, is the balance of traffic.
They're
And the number of legs
the best,
and
they
all
operate
that.
the best at the traffic buildup and the traffic and the wind down. So
Right.
so when it's building up and winding down, the flow is going to be very excellent.
And Chief, I just want to that point, these long-term recommendations that are noted here with respect to the traffic circles and, Charlie's plans, I'd want to mention that any process that we embark on where we ask the state to DOT and the engineers to further evaluate would require collaboration with your office, with Highway, with the town in general, and also there's a whole public process component to all of that where they have to meet with the various communities and talk about what they're planning, and that requires us to sort of have feedback into the direction in which they're taking it.
Yeah.
So absolutely, there's that public component there that will no doubt trigger intermunicipal cooperation and collaboration. So do you want to go on to the roads of note, Tom?
Yeah, we could, and this is on page 40, just to go back and again mention that this was a very public process. The task force, 30 to 40 minutes of comments every meeting from members of the public. The email that people could send to the email address. We received about 65 emails. I may have mentioned
100.
that.
Oh, 100.
Well, and
65
was-
we recorded?
was it 100? Was
I
it
thought it was
a total of
100,
100?
maybe.
I was maybe combining my emails and my public
maybe also the
comments.
public comments. Yeah.
Now I can't remember, but we did. We have saved those emails. Some, we've tried to address along the way. I think the towns looked at some of those that could be addressed kind of quickly with enforcement or other methods, road improvements. But they're all logged. The nature of those are logged. There was a lot of public input to guide it, and I think going forward, again, going to where we go from here, looking at those is certainly something that's going to help us evaluate along with other data, and develop a comprehensive kind of traffic plan.
And I just want to
maps-
mention for
yeah.
Councilman Powell, take a look, Councilman. Those are split between the east and west.
Right. And we did, what we did, we took what we're calling the roads of note that we, got comments from people about, email or in person, and combined that with the list of truck restricted roads in the town. So there are about 30 something roads that currently have truck restrictions on them in the town. So since that list, those regulations were enacted, by prior town boards, essentially based on public comments at the time. And, I helped, write a lot of that legislation. We thought that the roads of note and the no truck roads should be overlaid because the concerns are very similar on both. So what you see on these two maps are a combination of the ones we had communications with about recently, as well as the ones that have been no truck roads for a while. And I think this list will continue to evolve.
And one of the things that I think is really important about this charting out of what we're seeing on our side streets and our neighborhood roads, not only does it provide the police department with some nice facts on what's going on the ground to help enhance enforcement, but I would also say if our duty after this report is to do some sort of townwide traffic master plan, we've done a great deal of the work that any engineering firm would actually do. So in terms of doing work in-house, we've accomplished at least 50% of the work in-house because we've started collecting real information from people based on that. We've also embarked, and pertaining to some of those comments, Charlie, we did some site visits with Chief. Tom, we've done some site visits as they came to us throughout the task force with Tom. So a lot of that is what you see here, and it's that initial data collection that will be really critical for any engineering firm to evaluate some of what's going on the secondary street. So I think it's a really great effort there, and I think it illuminates some of what is happening. And I think one of my observations is that it seems as if some of those streets are coming off of where they're highlighted are coming off of our main thoroughfares, which does show the relationship between some of the main roads and the issues on some of our main roads and how it's bleeding into our secondary neighborhood streets. But
Right. And the complete list of this Excel spreadsheet is in your appendix if you want to look at all the email comments and their summaries that we received. And that leads into 44 and 45, traffic management technology. And the graphic, the visual there, I think the highway department may be prepared is,
We thank Mark for all of his work.
these are some of the newer locations where speed display units have been put up.
Right.
Again, I think it's certainly those locations or roads are certainly located to the feedback, that we got during the process. So, I don't know if we want to talk a little bit about the technology. I'll just kind of briefly say, we've talked about, the deployment of speed display units and additional funding coming forward. We've worked with the town has worked with the county and the state to ensure the traffic signals in the town are operating properly. That's an ongoing thing. And for years, it's been the understanding that the east and west signals would be maximized. I'm sure you know at this point that the town doesn't actually control any signals in the town. They're all state or county signals. So the town advocates with them and works with them on operational issues.
And it's been brought up that we should revisit the patterns of the changing of the lights.
Right.
And
Well,
to make sure that we are optimizing.
Right. Optimizing, there is new technology. I don't believe either the county or the town, state have, are using it, but there's new technology for traffic signals that literally are car counters to see how many cars are in the queue before they change, as opposed to some of the, current systems of when you drive over the sensor and the meter starts running to change to let you go. I think the town should be advocating, with the state and the county on looking at newer technology like that. Also, just mention at the invitation of Chief Kiernan, 2 technology consulting firms gave us a presentation on speeding and the potential for speed camera enforcement. The Federal Highway Administration has stated that speed safety cameras may be an effective safety tool when used as a comprehensive speed management, as part of a comprehensive speed management program to target speeding-related safety issues. And the further evaluation of this idea is one of the things we recommend. And I think then we kind of would get into some of the recommendations if we want to talk about those.
So there's it's split up into 2 parts. One is congestion mitigation recommendations. We won't go into that because it kind of talks about what we've already discussed in certain respects to those long-term recommendations. But then the other section is other policy recommendations, and one in particular that I'd like to just speak about, and then Tom, if you want to just carry it on. But what we plan to do, and I spoke at length with Charlie, with Ryan, with Tom, with Chief. We want to continue the task force through interdepartmental coordination. That we would meet quarterly throughout the year internally to discuss what other additional comments are coming to us from the public. We should meet to see how we're incorporating a lot of these recommendations, applying that to what is coming to us. I know one of the topics that were brought to our attention in our meetings was we need somebody who is identified to deal with all the issues regarding traffic. However, as Charlie would probably state that, and I know everybody else here would agree, you need to mobilize all the departments together. This requires a multi-layered approach to the various issues. We have to be able to make sure highways is in coordination with engineering. Public safety has a lot of great resources, as well as the police. So we want to make sure we're going to be working together to continually address some of those ongoing concerns and ensure that what is outlined in our final report is also being applied to any of the solutions that we embark upon. So we will continue to keep the traffic at southamptontowny.gov email open for the public, and we will be meeting internally periodically to discuss what we can do with some of the issues that come to the table.
Thank you.
So if I could just comment there, because there's one thing in here that I read it, and it's very detailed, there's a lot of information here. One thing that I didn't see addressed in this, which has come up, and I don't think there was anybody from the trades community on the task force, our full-on trades commuters, and something that comes up in trades advisory quite a bit, and that is that we lack contractor space out on the east end.
So they're actually,
Can I just finish?
sure.
And you know, you can see it in the shift of the seasons, right? Because our teachers, our doctors, our town workers, they're all coming out here on a daily basis year round. They're all commuting from wherever they live. It's not until the spring, when the contractors start coming out to service all of the homes out here, that we really see the full force of the I mean, because you can go to and from, I can get to and from work, no problem in the off season. It's when the trades start coming out full force to service all of these homes that we start to see this problem. And my concern is that if we continue, I mean, I'm not against affordable housing. I think it's definitely necessary. We need, you know, our workforce to live out here. But I think it will actually add to our peak traffic issues, because all of those developments that will have teachers and doctors and our office workers and some of our tradespeople living in them will also require the service industry to come out and service them. You're talking, you know, the sanitation workers. You're talking the sewage, the cluster sewage treatment plants. You're talking, you know, the landscapers, the painters. I mean, all of those people have to come out and service these things. And we used to have it where in Southampton we had the large estates, right? And the large estates had live-in housekeepers and live-in caretakers, and they managed the estate properties. That has shifted, and that's no longer the case. I don't think there's really any estates in Southampton, maybe a few that have live-in help that actually, you know, function. They're all bringing in contractors, and our local contractors are being priced out of having businesses here. We're seeing contractors push into ag reserves and other places because they can't afford to operate here. And you can bring all of their workers here, their trucks and their equipment and all the things to do the work still come from the west.
So can I just say that is addressed in our report? So under traffic congestion, on page 22, it does talk about three specific ideas that Tom and Charlie actually discussed. One being staggered work hours.
Which you can't
The
do.
other, well, it was a discussion that we had, and it's in the report. Not just to take a look at it. That's really what it is. I don't know if you want to comment on that a little bit more, but the two other ones are working staging areas and carpooling, and it does talk about Tom, you know, goes through how that can be set up by the town.
I mean, I know a lot of contractors that already do that because they put all their workers in one truck and they drive them out.
Right.
But the staggered work hours for people that are weather-related businesses that work outside, you can't do that to them because they have to work when the weather's good.
We could have a colorful exchange another time.
Yeah.
But I disagree. I know contractors right now that keep their people west in the morning and they move them further east when the time is right.
Well, my husband doesn't come out till 10 o'clock, but he also works later and sometimes has to come out earlier if it's going to rain the next day and you have lawns to cut. So,
Well,
So it works.
no,
except
because
on a
there's
rainy
days that
day.
you have to come out at 7 a.m. to be able to
So
start.
it works except for a rainy day. I'll accept that.
It's weather-related. You have to have flexibility.
The idea of staggered work hours, flex hours, is something, you know, that's been utilized even in the town in the past, and we have a few examples here in Town Hall about it. Generally, those kind of programs have been focused on offices, schools, centralized business type things where you have control over the employees and their hours and things. You know, Charlie's suggestion was rather novel, you know, and I think maybe, you know, some offline discussions or something about it, you know, may be appropriate. But the idea of doing that to lessen the traffic is certainly, you know, something we should be pursuing, and it's in here. I
think any businesses that can do it are doing it to save from paying their employees to sit in a truck.
Right. And one idea, and it may not directly address your comments, but I wanted to put in here because we have it as a recommendation to consider, is establishing a kind of a commercial parking lot in Bridgehampton by the train station for contractor vehicles, that they could use Southport Commuter Connection to come and go and leave their truck in Bridgehampton in a, you know, secure, you know, type of lot. I don't know, but that's kind of, I think, a little bit
I was
along the
thinking more
lines of
along
an
the
idea.
lines of looking at it as a land use issue and coming up with more areas that we could have contractors and
commercial
LA 40
businesses.
And, yeah.
Right.
so I mean, it's in the recommendations. So, and if you want us to specify specifically as it pertains to zoning, we can certainly add that as an addition.
Right.
But worker staging areas, understanding the issues of the trades, we do certainly outline that. in this
And I
report.
mean, I do agree, again, putting on my planning board hat for a minute, all of the commercial type building things that we're seeing are on Spionk Riverhead Road, and west. I mean, we still get, I mentioned how many, we've had along 39, but probably a lot of those are not more, or a mix of
like
commercial.
the trade contractor that's going in Watermill, where it's your business is underneath and there's offices above and everyone has their little unit. That's all we're talking about. Where somewhere
Right.
where people can put a few vehicles and a little shop. And
It's mentioned. It's mentioned. in
And
our
we
report.
can, we'll
we
talk
could try
to
to
Janice, talk
we
to
try to beef it up a little more
about-
just to make it more prominent, but it is mentioned in our report as a recommendation.
commercial zoning or light industrial zoning
I
or
mean,
something.
you can honestly see our traffic problems are seasonal and it's due to workers.
Oh yeah, seasonality for sure.
So light industrial zoning east of Canal. I think that's where we're going with that.
So Tom, do we want to just quickly the other policy recommendations really quick, and then we'll conclude?
Yeah, let's just, run through it real fast. Again, we, would recommend pursuing.
Thank you all for staying. Thank you. Yeah, good.
Pursuing the.
You didn't tell me that leaving was an option.
I have planning board training at noon, so I gotta get out of here. Further evaluating or pursuing the effort to, explore the idea of testing speed cameras is a recommendation. Continue to work with Suffolk County in the DOT on traffic safety concerns. And I think that's an ongoing, nicely kind of in your face kind of effort with those folks. Continue to utilize the permanent and the portable speed display units at select locations. Upgrade them wherever possible so as to be able to transmit that data to the police department. Again, going back to my days here, the idea was you collect the data, you share it with the police department, and then they know the best time to be out there to catch speeders, the best direction, the best time, the best road. So continue to, and upgrade that work. Prepare a local safety action plan and other documents. This goes back to the comment, what the councilman has been saying. You can call it a comprehensive master traffic plan. You can call it a local safety action plan. There are differences when you dig into what these things are. But I think the common thought here is that the town needs to come up with some unified way to look at the issues, sort out, where the real problem spots are and how you're going to deal with those. So.
And we got started already.
And we got started already, that's right. Initiate the safe driving public outreach program. Again, there were some efforts when I was here at the town, but they seem to have gone by the way. And I think the ideas of doing that, very much more of it is great. Programs like Mothers Against Drunk Driving and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration commercials you see have been shown to be effective. So public outreach is an important component.
One of the things that I just want to highlight on that is, and we discussed this during the task force and also in additional meetings, is that what we could do on social media, and we've done it with some of our other committees, is when we do have a PSA and we put it on our social media, we could target that post. So people who are, for instance, coming into Southampton, staying a couple of weeks, who might not know about our local laws, might be scrolling on social media and see that PSA come up because we've targeted, we've boosted it. We have the power to do that through our CRC department. So I just want to mention those PSAs can actually be very, very helpful in raising awareness through boosting and targeting them as ads. So thank you.
Yeah. Again, continue and expand the ongoing police department enforcement effort.
And it's mentioned, Chief, your border-to-border enforcement and some of the work that you've been doing and how we will continue on that. It recommends that we continue on that path.
Continuing the blinking signal program, on select short-term basis, and try to implement some kind of evaluation of the program when it's implemented. Again, gets back to the cost benefit kind of consideration going forward, but to continue that program. Explore the possibility of some secure parking in Bridgehampton for commercial contractor vehicles.
And not necessarily Bridgehampton. Let's also just in,
Right.
in other areas. Like, I
Yes.
just want to make
Right.
sure that we're also thinking about, especially what Councilwoman said, identifying other potential locations through some of the zoning. I think that's a good idea.
Right.
Just to,
The create, yeah, that other idea, which would be to
I
create.
mean, my committee has discussed that, and the consensus among them was they wouldn't be trucks and equipment in a lot out east.
That's
They won't do
so I guess what I'm asking is, would you want to provide what the trade committee may want to see?
change in zoning and more areas that have
Right.
availability
We
for
can
all.
put that
Or
in there.
We'll put that in there. Yeah, it's a land use
Yeah,
recommendation.
so nobody that I've spoken to, no contractor would feel comfortable leaving, and then there was a question of who's insuring it if something happens.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah,
town insuring it? Or-
There would be a lot to address
Geez,
to consider that.
Um,
And then pursue the transportation demand management strategies we were talking about, such as carpooling, flex hours. Again, we've had some limited success with that at some locations, but keep working on that. And there is a program through the DOT, it's called Rideshare 511, who the town had consulted with and helped us, for example, at the hospital, helped facilitate. Their nurses work a 7 to 7 shift. So they could take the commuter connection out in the morning, but they
Get
couldn't in the
home.
afternoon.
That's their biggest complaint.
The solution was to get a van to take them back at 7 o'clock at night. And I don't know if that's currently running, but that was implemented for a while, and the 511 rideshare folks and the Hampton Hopper folks.
If we got enough people
Help
that
that
would want to do it, it would be a good,
Right.
So I just want to say, well, thank you, Tom. Thank you for running through this. I just want to say the structure of this is really nice. It's very detailed in the beginning and throughout the meat of it. I mean, there's a lot of information that it gives. I love the contextualization of the history, so people know that this isn't our first rodeo, but this is different in the sense that it's a bottom-up approach. I love that. It goes through all the different categories in which the task force evaluated various issues, and I love the summary of different recommendations as well in the end. And for the public, I thought it would be a good idea to have the key highlights in the ends, because sometimes, going through all of this is not necessarily, unless you love reading reports. But if you don't, the key highlights in the end kind of attempt to summarize all of the different issues evaluated in a comprehensive fashion. And so I really appreciate the task force for all the work that you did, all your help, your effort, your assistance, your collaboration. Couldn't have done it without you all. So.
Well, Michael, what are we gonna do about the comments we received today? Are those gonna get incorporated into the final?
So Christine, so what we were going to do is I think we're going to meet collectively and we're going to have a quick discussion about some of the items mentioned today, and we're going to incorporate those, and then we'll resend out to the board in an official form for an acceptance, right?
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Yeah, you comply with the mandates of the reporting, and you should just now take all this, go through the draft, tweak it a little bit
Yep.
to your satisfaction, recirculate,
With all the members, yep.
and then we'll accept it.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to talk. So yeah.
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 Well,
Sounds
this
good.
was an important initiative.
Thank you.
Thank you for your leadership, Michael.
Thank you.
Very well done, everyone.
Everyone.
I would like to move to take just a 5-minute break recess before we get back to the next presentation.
That's not you, you're good.
Kevin, I move to take a 5-minute recess.
Bill seconded.
All in favor?
So I want to share. I didn't
Oh.
put this in the presentation. It should be, but that is
Thanks. I'd like to reconvene the meeting, and now Nick Jimenez is here with us to talk about the West Hampton Community Center first, the revised plans. Why don't you bring us up to speed, tell us what's happened so far.
So you have the revised, well, what I hope and what we intend to be as the final floor plan. It shows the proposed furniture layout. You'll see tables that is max capacity if we wanted to set up 9 tables in the one flex space and as many bridge tables as are shown in the other flex space. It's not anticipated that we'll have that many set up at one time. Get that out of the way. But so we've been working with BBS, our consultant, and I've also had meetings with the consultant, youth services, and senior services to go over the kitchen layout and the youth services facilities. So I'll take any questions anybody or concerns anybody may have, but
So is this the draft prior to now going out to bid with the bid specifications?
this plan is what I hope I can, after this meeting, direct the consultant to move forward and advance to final architectural design. They've gone a little bit of the way, but they're still holding off, obviously, because if we move walls, that has other ramifications to the other systems in the building.
And the exterior revisions to the property, we're going to deal with that later.
The rear yard improvements?
Yeah.
But yes, that'll be a separate phase once this project is once construction of this is underway.
Okay.
No, Mike Kaczynski. On the game room 1 and 2, see there's a pool table back there. And one thing about a pool table, you can't move it. If you need a space, it's how much is that actually going to be used?
Okay, that would again be a question for youth services or youth bureau.
But that's something that we don't need to decide on now, right? Because it's not part of the, we're not building a pool table in the facility. It's.
Correct. So the furniture, the pool tables.
That can all be discussed later.
Yeah,
that can be discussed later. That's
discussing now to a point.
Sure, it will be purchased. So the furniture and the recreational materials, the computers, the desks, they'll be purchased separately outside of the actual base construction bid. So obviously the town has their own furniture contracts. We can purchase recreational tables through other means, and there's a savings to be afforded by doing it that way as opposed to putting tables, chairs, and desks in the base bid for a contractor to just basically purchase and deliver to the site.
And you say these doors have to be put in there for fire code?
So game room 1 and game room 2 require, yes, a secondary means of egress from each room, so that's why those doors are shown.
Game room 2, that door should be alarmed.
Okay.
And the game room 1, that door should be moved towards the back.
So what are you saying, Bill? Because the rest of us are just hearing it.
Bill, you need to turn your mic on.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
So are you talking about the two game rooms?
Yeah, the game room 2, that door should be alarmed.
And wait a minute,
So-
please. So the game room, the door off the side of the game room, you'd like that to be an alarmed door. Mm-hmm.
Game room 1, the door from the side should be moved to the back because you're going to utilize the back of this property for activities. And
So I want to lightly push back on moving that door just because, again, there's limited storage in both of the game rooms, and that entire back wall is being filled up with storage, or basically casement shelves and cabinetry, as well as their smart board. So moving the door back there, it doesn't knock the whole wall out, but it does take a significant amount of the available storage. And the layout of the room would be a little bit affected if we were to move that to the side.
And there is a sidewalk all the way up the side to the doors, right?
Correct.
You said there's a sidewalk.
Yeah,
It
but
goes all the way up
the
there.
trouble is, you want to train the kids to go in the back. You don't want to train the kids, okay, I'm going to leave now, Tracy. They're going to jump out here. You want to go out, you want to train them to go out this
Well, if
front.
it's alarmed, they can't go out.
Yeah, but you have to have them along. But I'm not for this door here. I'd rather have less cabinet space and put a door here. I think they're gonna find that out better when they start utilizing the back. That way they can go out in the back and with this activity, if they wanna play kickball or whatever they wanna do out there, they
But
can do
they
that.
can also access through flex space the 121, right?
That was so we added that door based on previous comments to allow them to access the flex space and then the double
Out the back.
doors into the back, correct?
But if you have activity in there and then you're gonna interrupt the activity.
Well, possibly. I mean, it's not impossible, but that flex space is, I'll say, reserved for the youth center. So based on the operations of the center, there shouldn't be activities in that space unless they pertain to the youth at the time that the youth are there.
I wanna go.
Where's 121?
It's the bigger flex space.
So Bill, I just want to ask you a question, just because I'm trying to understand. I understand the premise of what you're talking about. But what's going to stop the kids from running out the back door?
They can run out to the back door. It's farther away from the parking lot, so they're not gonna leave that way to go home. They can go out, you want to go out the back because that's where you're gonna have outside activity.
It's not, it doesn't look like it's that much of a distance. How much of a distance is that?
To the parking lot?
Yeah.
No, to around the corner.
Around the corner to
Around the
the
corner.
back where the door would be. It's just, we have to balance it against all that storage. There's not a lot of storage in the
Yeah.
building and, these.
And having a smart board there for having a,
Board is.
I
Seating
just
space,
think
yeah.
that it's gonna, that door, if it's gonna be a problem.
If it's alarmed though. And I had said that to you too. I thought the door should be alarmed so that the kids don't just.
They don't use
Yeah,
it
the
for
doors,
heat.
by all means, the doors can be alarmed. Youth Bureau didn't think it was necessary, but
I'm still for a door in the back. I'm stuck in
can
my
we
own.
compromise to alarm doors where they are?
No,
Yes.
I want a door in the back.
Well,
I think in the long run,
I think we want to give up on the storage just to save a few steps from here to there.
the kids are lazy. You know,
So
I have
what?
kids.
So-
But if they're alarmed, they're not going out there.
They're not going to get out.
I'm
If we're trying to make sure they don't sneak off.
We might have to wait for the fifth person to come here, or fourth person to have a vote on this, but I'm stuck
What
on
do you
it.
think
Michael,
about
do you
the
have a vote?
storage,
What do you-
Michael?
So, Bill, so you want to move? You're concerned about the game room 1 door and game room 2 door?
He wants
Game
to
one,
move
one
this
door.
door to the back, so the kids don't have to walk up here to get out here. They go right out the back. But then you give up your storage.
I mean, I get what he's saying because it faces the other doorways as well. I know, but I'm talking about the in front of the flex space and the 2 flex spaces, 120, 121. I think in terms of symmetry, I get what he's saying. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna die on the hill over it, but I mean, I get what Bill is trying to argue here. But are you saying in terms of just like the structure of the building, you wouldn't be able to because
think
of
it
that?
was-
no, we could, but the compromise would be for the storage space.
Storage.
I mean,
So that's
if
the
you're
entire storage for game room.
Can
1,
it be moved?
if you're in the
This way?
arts and crafts room, why can't you just go out through the main room?
You can.
But if there's another activity in there,
So the storage can be moved, but then to move the storage on the sidewall here, you lose floor space in the rest of the room. So
All right.
everything is a compromise at this point.
all right, I will compromise, move this door over here and have it open this way.
Which door? Just move it up higher?
Move
How many feet is that about, Nick?
and have it open swing this way.
Yeah.
So that way
yeah.
it focuses the people to go this way.
That won't matter, right, Nick?
No,
if
that
it's
should be
just
fine.
further up?
If we want to move it on the wall, that should be no
I only did
problem.
it because I don't want you to get mad at me.
I'm not mad at you.
So you want it to swing, you want it to
How
swing
many-
so that the door is open to the parking lot, like the bottom one.
So you funnel the people that way
Gotcha.
and a sidewalk this way.
Okay.
Not a sidewalk that way.
Well, should we be alarming the doors then if we're letting them use the exits?
This one does not have to be alarmed. This one has to be alarmed. Because this one's like, they're gonna use this one to go to the parking lot.
I think you're overthinking it, Bill.
What?
I think you're right now you're being a grandpa worried about their toddler.
Yes, maybe. But she's gonna be old before you know it.
All right, so why don't we do
By
that
the
next?
time we figure this out and get it built,
Move it.
she'll be in
Game
there.
room 2, the door would be,
Game room 1, right?
game room 2, the door would be alarmed.
Yes.
So they're not going out to the parking lot to do who knows what.
Okay.
And then game room 1, we'll move the door up to the other side of the smart board.
Essentially just,
The only thing
Okay.
I'm gonna say is I'm looking at it again from an aesthetics point, and where the doors are, the windows on this are balanced on either side of that. You know what I mean? So it's
Yes. You might have to put a smaller window. Or,
Okay.
Oh, those
Side
are
of
3
the-
windows on the side of the smart
Yeah.
board, the north side.
it's a side exposure. And it'll essentially just be a redundant image. So yeah, you lose the mirror symmetry, but it'll still be the same, if you will.
It's this actually the same. It's not a mirror image. It's the same image.
Yes. Yeah, you'll have twice. You'll have door, window, door, window. Right?
Yeah,
Or actually, window, door, window, door. Excuse me.
that's
Oh, I
fine
see. You're
with
gonna
you,
just
right?
move it,
Yeah, that's
swap
not,
it, and you're
it's
just
not a
gonna
problem.
swap it with the door. Okay.
And then in the big room, I just sent you a text when we were over at the Hampton Bays Elementary School the other day for the flag raising. I noticed that they had the basketball hoops, in that room and against the wall. Like, is that the kind of thing that we're going to be able to do with the basketball
Should be.
hoops in this room?
Yeah, this is a good picture. I'll send this to BBS.
that's nice.
And that one lowers down. Yeah, because I know a lot of the,
Oh, yeah.
well,
Where
a
is that
couple of the
from?
parents want it in the big room here. So if somebody move the tables out, they're going to be able to do karate and ballet and chair yoga and different things in there. But if we also have
No, that's a great
basketball,
picture. I'll send that to BBS as soon as we're
there's
ready.
2 there.
Two
Yeah, I
basketball.
mean,
Two hoops, two
that,
pics, 2 different kinds of
not only
pictures.
that, the youth basketball league always needs more space. So
Yeah. That's
Oh,
what
I don't
the
know about the
parents were saying.
second one.
That's
more of a
looks like it lowers
gymnasium.
down.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I'll ask them, but probably not the second one. Just our ceiling's not quite that high.
Oh.
But we could definitely put something permanently mounted on the wall if we prefer that.
And then out of the back, the big 2 large rooms, those were going to be 10 by 10 pads, but you were saying that maybe we're going to have one big pad.
Yeah, so that's what I would like to have one big.
Yeah, so
shed.
if we want to go to the second sheet, that's the site plan. So there's just 10 by 10 refuse pads in this design. Once we start fleshing out what the actual exterior improvements are going to entail and look like, we can revise that accordingly. Yeah, there's obviously, since the project's inception, there's been a desire to have a big outdoor patio.
Yeah,
The large outdoor patio is not included in this phase of the project, but if and when we're building this building, once we flesh out that patio, if we desire to speak to the contractor who's building this building and change course, we can.
See, that's one of the reasons I wanted the door out here, because if you put a patio out here on
use
this
patio.
patio, a deck, then if say you have kids who want to paint, they can go paint outside, or
That's
if
a
they
good
want to
point,
draw, they can draw outside. They're more apt
Go out
to
the-
they're more apt to go out this side,
go out the
or
door right
if the
here.
door's closer.
Well, it'll be within 20 feet of that patio.
10 feet.
20.
The extra 12-year-old would walk 20 feet. That's amazing sometimes if they do it. Yeah, you got kids.
Yeah, some of it's going to have to come down to, the youth bureau making sure that they understand where to go and when to go, where they want them to go.
And the only way you could do it, I guess, if you move the 2 tables here, so they're stacked on top of each other, and then put the cabinets on that wall there instead of it along the back.
Yeah, so cabinets aligning this wall here really impact the square footage of the room. As far as,
It's already too narrow.
yeah, exactly.
And you lose the storage because you have a counter with the bathroom all the way around with a refrigerator.
I mean, I like the redesign.
Yeah, I'm fine. Just move the door.
And you're gonna keep the mature trees along the property line where the neighbors are?
Yes,
on the
any
side?
trees that do not require removal will not be removed. We would clean out the underbrush, if you will, bramble, stuff like that, just to make it look more
I
presentable.
don't see any trees. I mean, maybe I'm missing it.
No, it's on this side, I think. This is where it backs up against Baycrest.
Yeah, so that's pretty densely wooded, so you don't have the individual trees because it's, frankly, it's outside of the.
Well, it's just a squiggly line.
Yeah, exactly.
But it appears to me, based on the legend, there doesn't seem to be any indication of any trees to be removed.
No, there's trees to be removed. This is not the tree removal plan. I could get you a
Okay.
tree removal plan
Well,
if
it
you'd
does
like
have
it.
the trees that are remaining, though.
Yeah, they put the legend on this plan, but that applies to the entire set.
Okay. Well, that would be good to know, just so that we can be more sure about what's going on with trees.
Well, no trees are being removed that don't have to be removed.
Okay.
And then there's a drop-off area in front of the building with no parking? Is that what that means?
Correct. So, getting back to why this looks a little different than the last time you guys might have seen it. Originally, there was a bend in the parking lot. And looking at this, Tom and I went back and forth with the consultant, and the bend is now in the driveway. So the parking lot is square to the building as opposed to having an angle. So when you
Turned out to
come,
be a lot better.
yeah, when you come into the entrance, you go directly towards the building, you can hang a left, and you have the drop-off area right in front of the building with no parking.
This is one of the reasons I wanted to do this.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't want to talk about that at this point.
What?
So I said that we have to be careful of the tin building.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the reasons with the doors.
The what building?
The tin building, for the parts to do storage.
Yeah, that
So-
has to stay.
We have since marked this plan up, made minor changes, but if you look at that hatched area that shows the apron to the Parks barn,
Yeah.
those two spots have actually shifted over to the left too. So it's farther away from the building, closer to the
Okay.
Parks barn.
Oh,
And
good.
it allowed anybody that's walking through the pass-through in the parking lot now goes directly into that as opposed to having to skew over a little bit.
Okay.
And what about the entrance? Is that where it is now?
Yes, the
Or
entrance.
does it have to get shifted a little? The
Entrance
entrance off
stays.
of Mill Road?
Nope, entrance stays on Mill Road. I met with PSEG yesterday to review poles, where we're grabbing electric from. They're on board with that. There will be one pole relocation, but it's not a big deal. That makes sense to everybody. It's worth putting the entrance where it is and removing or relocating a pole as opposed to trying to work around the utility pole, frankly. Green infrastructure issues, if anybody's concerned with that type of thing. We removed, I'll say, 90% of the precast storm drains that were originally proposed. And the center of the parking lot now has a bioswale. So all the stormwater is channeled to that bioswale, which is then piped into a bioretention area immediately to the north there between the parking lot and Mill Road. That'll be landscaped. We'll have a post and rail fence around it, and it saves us money on precast, and it also allows possibly an opportunity for, with the education going on in the greenhouse in the back, some type of an educational aspect where you can explain, this is a bioretention area. What is bioretention? Why is it good? Why is it good for the
example.
environment?
That's good.
I like that.
Saving money too, right?
Yeah,
If we don't have to have all
ton.
those.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it was a lot of precast. That was one of the first comments we had on the first plan. We're like, Swiss cheese. It was like, why are there so many? And I said, no, we don't have to do this. The big turnaround, which is required for the fire code, you can't have a dead end. So heaven forbid something was going on and the fire truck had to get in here, they can turn around in this big circle. That's going to be grass pavers. If anybody's
Oh,
not
yeah.
familiar with, so we're familiar with grass pavers. They're expensive, but when we took out all that precast, we found a lot of money. So
It's good.
it helps. Other than that, this is pretty much what I hope will be the final layout of the parking lot. We're going back and forth with dumpster locations. It won't change any, main layout too significantly at all.
That's easy for the truck to get right there.
It's easy for the truck to get right there, but it's also right in the middle of everything, and it's stinky garbage. So we've directed them to investigate whether or not it makes more sense to put it in the area of the loading zone, closer to that turnaround.
Is it, I guess, is a container on wheels or
No, it'll be,
how much garbage?
I'd assume it would be just a regular parks container, so it'd be like what we have here in Town Hall. And if you see where that is now in Town Hall, they're pretty good with getting into tight places, so.
So as it's getting constructed, we'll be looking at, the exterior, so we're not gonna wait till the whole thing's
Yes,
done, right?
as soon as we have a final layout, we can start laying out the outside, yeah.
Landscape and what we're gonna do with the property.
Correct.
Well, this is great, and I'm glad we
Yes.
all had the opportunity to give input on it, and I know that the youth services and senior services are happy with it, and the VFW, the American Legion rather, and Ryan Murphy, everybody's getting a little something that they want here,
And I got my door moved.
Yeah, we had a very productive meeting with,
the basketball hoops.
Yes.
with senior services and Laura Pettit about that kitchen, because I visited Flanders maybe a month ago now, and I got a better understanding of the storage that Flanders needs and their actual operations. So changes to this plan from the last plan you might have seen is a ton more storage in the kitchen itself. They actually made a little dry storage closet for them, and we put a coffee clutch and more counters and cabinetry in the Flex Space 120 for that operation.
I mean, they're the people living it every day in the other
Exactly.
centers, so they know what they need.
Yeah, and it was a good catch, because the original layout, I think we would have looked a little foolish if we hadn't put in the amount of storage that they actually need.
So when this is open, how many people can fit in here?
In the Flex Space,
Yeah, when this is open.
when this whole thing is open, it is, I believe the final number was 196 when the whole thing is open.
So if we wanted to have a town meeting there, it could hold, the time we put our tables.
So 200 people.
It's good. I don't know if we can draw that many people. This
There
is
are more people there than here.
Would you guys, so there was a little bit of back and forth about putting a screen or another smart board on the left-hand wall in Flex Space 120, so that I imagine if there was going to be a town board meeting, you guys would sit, in this area here,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and then
have
we
to
could have
plan
the
that.
I
screen.
think we should have a smart
Behind
board
you.
for presentations in that room.
Yes. And that way we don't have to take the one out of game room number 1.
Game room number 1.
Oh yeah, that thing's not moving, it's massive.
Yes, it's good. Good collaboration, I
Yes.
think. Good teamwork.
Very
Getting
excited.
to get a nice product here.
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
We've been waiting a long time.
Now we can get moving on it.
Yeah, and we're moving
We've
fast,
been moving,
you know.
Yeah.
We shifted into high gear now.
I got my
People
shelf in my
were-
truck.
People were a little upset about, they were almost at the other one, but then we were told the other one was going to take till the end of this year anyway to get it all
And this has more to offer.
renovated. Yeah, and this has so much more layout, just the way we want it.
Exactly. It's always more advantageous if you can build a building to suit as opposed to try and shoehorn
Nick's
it.
more happy doing this.
I'll do whatever you guys want me to do.
All
Don't
right.
look at me.
Does anybody else have any other comments?
No.
All right, thank you. Well done.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes, we have.
Yeah, and you've got one other thing you wanted to talk to us about,
So
right?
the Hampton Bays, affectionately referred to as the post office parking lot, but it's our parking lot. It's not the post office's.
We were just talking about parking over there today.
I have a question about this. I always wondered about the Hampton Bays. They hardly ever use this parking lot. Most of the time it's empty, and now where this is always full.
Oh, the post offices?
Yeah, is there any way we can talk to them about using some of that?
believe that's where they park the mail trucks, and then the employees park their vehicles when they get the mail trucks.
They also have to get the trailers in there, turn around.
Okay.
See if they have any extra space.
I mean, sure, it's possible. I don't.
Why don't you talk
Because
through
it's a
it?
lease.
They lease it,
Yeah, it's a lease from the federal
and I
government.
think their lease is just about up too.
That was discussed a while back. They wanted to move them onto Montauk, or somebody wanted to move onto Montauk Highway.
And take this whole thing as a lot.
All right, so what was, what's
Who owns that,
prompting
Cindy?
this? What's going on?
I don't know who
here?
the owner is, but I know the post office is a long-term lease, and it's almost up, I think.
So this looks like it's gonna create a lot of additional parking.
So, I had gone back and forth. You'll see there's 4 different concepts here. I had gone back and forth with the previous administration before you came on board, Maria. And there's a bunch of different iterations here. The latest decision point that we have to make as a town or the board that I'd like your input and agreement to is whether or not we maintain that cross access. Because there was a
There were
concern
comments.
and comments that
We need to,
get rid of the cross access. So everybody.
there really is no cross-access currently, I mean.
No,
it's-
currently, yeah. If you
And
see
there's a
now,
grade
it's-
change there.
What's the concern about having it? Because I know we
The concern-
generally like to have cross access.
We did have community input on this, and the concern was there's a new very busy market next door, and they were concerned with shopping carts making their way into this lot. They were concerned about traffic because they're already having traffic issues with that lot and it's overflowing. Than them just taking it up to this lot because it's now less convenient for them to use this lot if they have to traverse this hill to get into the lot. They can't bring shopping carts in. It was really the community the residents didn't want shopping carts in this lot. They didn't want the market using this lot as their lot because it's really needed for downtown and the post office.
Okay.
It's always full.
So with that being said, is there any desire to keep that one-way exit road on the western side of the parking lot? You can see in the concepts 1, 2,
Go ahead.
and 4, keep it. And concept 3, which was the former proposed, removes it.
Yeah, I think we have to keep it.
Nick, what's
Because most people come out there, they go to the light, and then they make a left instead of having to come out and make a left onto Ponquag.
Okay.
I like number 2.
Number 2 has the cross access, but it'll end up looking a lot like concept plan 1. Are you looking at page numbers? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Page
Yeah, that's
number,
the,
yeah,
that's
sheet
the
2.
one, Bill.
This one.
Another concern I had, it wasn't supported by the previous board. If you go there now, you'll see dumpsters in the parking lot. The parking lot, so I might item.
Here?
Yeah, so they're by the trees usually and in the corners. So when we clean this up and make it a lot tighter and more efficient,
Who are those dumpsters for?
so those are the businesses along Montauk Highway. So it's their own private carters picking up their garbage. If we,
on our property?
they put the dumpsters in our parking lot, yeah. So if we were
So
to,
what's hey Jim, what's the liability insurance on that? Which property? I'm sorry.
All these,
yeah, what I'm getting at is we could
businesses
either
use
provide a
their
place,
lots, their
not that
garbage.
we would maintain it. I don't know the legal ramifications of it, but we could provide a dedicated place where they could have 2 containers or 1 container.
But-
And then it would preclude one of these
Taking up
parking
the spots,
spaces from having a dumpster in it. My concern obviously is when we redo this lot, and we remove, not that we remove, but
We make parking spots where they have
we
the
make parking
dumpsters.
spots where they had dumpsters, it could cause a logistical problem for those businesses because there's nowhere else for them to actually house their dumpsters.
Well, on sheet 3, you don't have any parking spots where the dumpsters were.
Correct, so like I said, it was not supported, so concept plan 1 was concept plan 1, and the dumpsters were not supported by the previous boards, that's why the later concept plans don't have dumpsters.
I mean, honestly,
These are all evolutions, all of these
So
plans.
what storefronts has these dumpsters?
I could
Because if the way I
figure
look
out
at
that
it,
information, I have not reached out to these
if you
businesses.
give store number A a dumpster, and store B has the dumpster
Yeah.
on the property, it's not
Like
fair.
I said, it could be, it's a thorny
Like
issue.
sitting in-
Yeah, but, I mean, where are they gonna put their
liability insurance.
dumpsters? They've been there for so
Exactly.
long, so.
Yeah, it's a thorny issue that I think we need to
They're currently not
consider.
on the town-owned property?
No, they're on the town-owned property.
Straddling or?
Looks like it's straddling, to be honest with you. I mean,
Where can you even see it?
oh, actually, right here. So actually, it is on the property. I mean, what is the? Can we get the outline of the property? I think we need to know what the
No,
outline.
Michael,
of
I
the
don't even
property
think that's a dumpster. I think that's a little shed, isn't it? On Scotto's? It's like
Yeah.
a shed.
is.
He
But
said
it's
dedicated
it's in the
refuse
it's
area.
under the trees, right? It's
Yeah,
here.
they put them under the trees, and I think you
Under
can
the
see
trees.
one is under the other tree over there.
We don't have, as far as you know, we don't have any formal agreements or anything with them now.
No, they're just in space.
Yeah, that's-
If
So it's the Wild West. The closer you get to
I mean,
Mountain
if-
Highway
if-
back here right
this
now,
is-
that's all
yeah,
town
this-
property.
if this dumpster goes to this up here, he should be able to put it somewhere on his property.
But then we don't want dumpsters jumping the curb to,
Yeah.
No, I mean, he has a driveway going into his back of his.
It's not something we have to solve today, but it's something we should keep in the back of our minds.
I think if you keep that bump out there, because it's not hurting anything to have that bump out there, and you don't say it's for garbage, and then this becomes an issue, you can say, listen, this is here. If you all can't make it work for all of you to do something in this spot contained, then we're out. Right?
I don't know, I'm worried about the insurance liability, and store A you give a dumpster, but store B you don't give a dumpster.
Well, the
You gotta
stores,
You got to be fair to all the property owners.
property,
Are dumpsters shown on their respective site plans if they're new enough to have
They're
site
so
plans?
old.
they'd be on ours.
So these stores he's been remodeling, so he should have a site plan.
I mean, I've been to other municipal lots where the stores have dumpsters
Yeah.
on in the municipal lots.
Well, if they do, they should have some type of.
Shouldn't we
agreement
have to
with us
charge
also.
them? We should have to lease them the spot. Here, we have this spot. We can lease it to
Then
you.
they should
That's
be, like,
one-
the
yeah, that's
bills
one
budget should
alternative.
have the- they
Their
should
own
be provided
insurance.
That is their own.
Insurance.
Yeah, 'cause it's,
And they're
you know,
probably sharing it,
I would put
Couple
the
stores.
spot there. So if it becomes an issue, I mean, because there's nothing wrong with having that bump out for turning around or whatever. You know what I mean? Like if,
You should have a hold harmless agreement.
yeah.
And you should name it as an additional insurance.
Because I know in Bridgehampton's parking lot, there's some dumpsters in that parking lot. We own that parking lot. And-
'Cause I would
and there's
rather-
garbage all over. No one picks it up.
I would rather have it somewhere nice and tucked away and, And then if you don't want to pay us to put a dumpster there, then get rid of your own trash.
So we don't have to solve it today, just one of the issues
just
that
keep
will
it in
come up.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just keep that space there for it.
So with that being said, the redesign, even with foregoing the cross-access and keeping the turnaround, we're looking at around 14 additional spaces. in
Are
this lot.
these trees?
The green dots
Yeah.
are trees, yes.
Oh, cool. So you'll be adding.
Yeah, so we'll be adding some landscaping. Like I said, it's the Wild West. When you look on this site plan now, they're parking everywhere. It's not in accordance with any standards. We could never stripe it the way it is now, and that is, again, town property.
The worst part is right now when you drive in from Ponquag, you have to make a choice. You have to roll the dice and go side A or side B. And if you don't find a site, a parking
way back
space, you have to go all the way out onto good ground, make a left onto Ponquag, and go back in and try the other side.
Well, just from a beautification standpoint, I like that we're adding those trees over there. That'll be really nice for the community.
Yeah, and the business owners too. It'll spruce up the backs of their shops a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, when you're saying you were adding that many parking spots, are you subtracting where these cars are parking over
Yeah.
here? You are.
Yeah.
Okay.
As where it looked like they could actually
Park vehicles?
legally fit. Yeah, like you look at these crazy vans on the left side, and
Yep.
but there's a couple on the right there that you theoretically could have a spot. And whatever this larger building on the northeast corner is, they have a little private parking lot of their own, as does the one on the northwest corner.
With the drive.
So those are both being maintained.
Yeah,
The
it's just-
access to those are both being
You
maintained.
see where these people have their dumpsters, Or these people right here. I'm looking on the overhead, see where they have these dumpsters.
Naturally, you want to have cross access, but there's Cindy is
mean, so that you
said
don't
that
have to go back
you don't
out
wanna
to
have the
Concord.
carts and
They
the
don't,
shoppers
they don't
coming
want
in
the
here.
shoppers using that lot.
I can understand in this position, this area, that you don't want cross access. Because this is gonna be a shortcut, and this is already tight enough.
You'll also get, when the traffic backs up on Main Street, they'll cut through the parking lots and then go out to the back roads.
And then you lose 4 or 5 parking spaces on this side. I can see putting an easy access like a sidewalk or something.
I can see both sides of it. I think both points of view are credible. I like the designs though. They're
I think you did a nice job on the design.
Yeah, there's another one where, Cindy, you were here, I mean,
Yeah.
it evolved, we went back and forth, and back, it's like the Shinnecock.
And this one too will allow us to, if we want to, the post office could put the drop-off box on that.
Yeah, we can keep, I think it's been relocated there now, right, or it was
Did
talked
they put
about
back over
relocating
there?
it.
They were talking about it. It's up underneath it's up by the building.
Yeah, so the mobile or drive-up mailbox could be relocated over there,
Yeah.
or anywhere, frankly.
We're gonna maintain the one-way exit to Good Ground Road.
Yes.
Why is the paving stopped in advance of the road? Is there any reason
There's
for that?
no real need to redo that, but we could. I mean, cost, that's all it comes down to. If we have the money to go the rest of the way, we'll go the rest of the way. I have to run a calc on that. Concept 3, which was the old, was it Concept 3? Yeah. Concept 3, which was the old preferred alternative. The estimate for that before contingencies was $365,000.
wow.
So
What was 365,000?
the estimate for Concept 3. So before contingencies, after contingencies.
How much was it?
420.
Oh, 400.
365,641 and 25 cents
Oh,
was
you're
my,
adding the
was my number.
Yeah.
But
As opposed to, what are you making a distinction on?
no, just we have $500,000 in the budget.
Uh-huh.
So you had asked why did this stop? Just for engineering and cost efficiencies, but we likely have the budget to continue it and just repave that whole alley
With the contingency?
with the contingency and the budget we
Oh,
have.
okay.
Yeah.
Is that a sidewalk at the bottom there? Oh, the Good Ground?
Yeah.
Yeah, good ground. There's a sidewalk the whole stretch.
So would you have to, is there,
Nope,
like,
that's
open
a
up
that's an
onto an
exist.
apron?
Yeah, it's an existing apron.
Doesn't look like it cleared out at all.
It does. It's hard to see, but it does. If it's in bad shape, I mean, I'll go. It's been a couple of years since I've been out there, but I'll go back out there and look and see if that apron is cracked or in poor repair. We'll fix that too.
I just think,
Yeah.
Did you say those
do
dumpsters
it
are
while
there
you're
now?
there.
You said those dumpsters are there now?
The last time I was there, which this plan is dated April 2023, so there were dumpsters in the parking lot.
Yeah. I'm gonna drive through there, check it out.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick. This
You're
was
welcome.
very good.
Have to report
Everybody-
back to
When are we
Michael.
parking? When are we paving our parking lot?
Hopefully next week.
Wow.
What
We
happened
have
this week?
We have power was restored on Tuesday. Well, not restored, but power was completed on Tuesday. The electrician has to come and prove that everything works. Obviously, they don't want to pave and then have to rip up something if it's broken or doesn't work.
What is your timeline on this?
The parking lot, this I want to put, so that's why I asked for this, just to get some input and go ahead from you guys, because we're going to do Tom and I in-house design, put it out to bid this spring.
Okay, this spring.
Say probably you'll
Pending
see.
our decision.
Correct. Well, we can advance design, and then whatever we do with the dumpsters is not going to kill anything. But yeah, you'll likely have this before you to notice bids in June sometime.
So the work will be done in the fall, not the summer.
Yeah, I would do this in the fall, right? Shoulder season.
Oh my God.
So-
Next fall.
Yeah, fall 2025.
And when do you think the bids will be able to get out for this community center?
Community center, that's the same thing, as we are hoping to notice in June and then get the bids out and back by the end of July. Early
Start with the
August.
fall.
Hopefully. God
And
willing.
how about the bids for the exterior of this building?
Those are
already told
being
me.
noticed. No, it's fine.
Should have brought your list.
I got it.
He knew.
Those are being noticed at your next town board meeting. And the bids will come back for that in early May. I believe it's May 6th. The Bridgehampton Community House, you guys noticed that on Tuesday. So those bids will be available next Thursday, and they're due back the first week in April. So we'll have the community house,
in front, yeah.
the exterior, the columns in the front of the community house are in poor repair. So we'll have that project, this project, and then we're all geared up for the fall. Ryan left with this project, the community center, and the animal shelter. If all
Tell
goes
us
according to plan.
what's going on with the bike paths through Good Ground Park.
So the bike path was shut down for a couple of weeks. It got kind of soggy in there. They cleared all the trees out and they rough cut the trail, and then it just turned into, again, a muddy mess. So to avoid making a very difficult situation worse, they pulled out for 2 weeks. They're supposed to be starting up again on Monday, and we expect that'll be done by the end of next month too. I mean, there's not much to go.
So when you have these projects where you have to go in there and cut trees down, if you see, like in Good Grounds, might be some locust trees, anything over 25 feet to 35 feet. 25 to 30 is the perfect size.
Okay.
For osprey nests, they're very hard to come by.
Oh.
You have to buy them.
Interesting.
And you could, that way you could,
Keep that in
cut them
mind.
up, have them saved.
Okay.
And between the Parks Department and the Trustee Department, they should be using them.
I'll have to find somebody that can identify a locust tree.
I'm sure
Can you
Jackie can
identify
help you with
locust
that.
trees?
They're usually like,
Straight, right? They'd have to be straight.
they're not straight. They can be crooked.
Okay.
Go
Yeah,
down
all
Dune
those trees are
Road,
gone,
go down Dune
unfortunately.
Road and look at all the osprey poles. Those
There
are
we go.
locust trees.
Got anything else?
No,
That's
that's
it.
great. Thanks
Yeah,
for
good
the
news today,
updates.
right? No big.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Keeping you busy.
Let's move the
Yes.
door.
And also, you can mention to Peter, people do appreciate him having his crew paint.
I mentioned that to
Yeah.
him yesterday. He was very thankful.
People get like a nice
Clean paint.
clean paint, and I saw the couple of guys today. They said they'll be back next week to paint some more.
Very good. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nick.
I guess we're just moving next door now, right?
Yeah, I'll see you in a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you want these back?
Okay.
No, you keep them. You want an extra one?
Thank you for all.
Is that your pad?
No, that was here.
Charlie left it.
All right, so that brings us to the Town Council and Supervisor Liaison updates. Cindy, start at your end.
We are signing everybody up for the Great East End cleanup, which will be April 26th and 27th. They can go on the website and sign up for that.
I know the emails are going out because I got one at my Gmail. And Michael?
Yeah, today starts the Noyak Road repaving project. So
Oh,
it's
that's
long
right.
awaited. It's first phase of the project. It will encapsulate Noyak from North Sea Road to Deerfield. They will be starting, I think, more in the easterly section just to modify a few issues on the road there, and then they'll be doing the rest of it. So it's really the Noyak community is very happy that it's getting started. So thank you
Great.
for adding it into the budget. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And Charlie said something that he might be able to move some things around and even get started on the second part.
That
That's
is true.
To be
yeah.
determined.
To be
Yeah.
determined is right.
We had the North Sea Solar ribbon cutting yesterday on that project, and it's a very, it's amazing accomplishment for the town. It started 4 years ago with the prior board, and glad to be here to help finish it up. And just 11,500 panels, and it's going to help the town with electric bills and the community. Over 500 residents will get a discount on their electric bills. And it was really something to see. The three of us were there. I know you couldn't make it, but it was very impressive. A lot of work went into it. Frank was there, Frank Zapone, and he helped. He spearheaded the thing and followed it through until he left.
Made with U.S. steel and local concrete.
Yeah, and local contractors worked on it.
And the goats are gonna have a good time up there trimming. Around all the panels.
And also last week, the three of us were at the Veterans Flag Raising Ceremony at the Hampton Bays Elementary School to honor Dave Agstravibi, and it was well deserved by him. He's got an amazing background. So we were proud and happy to give him a proclamation on behalf of the town.
He does a lot of work for our veterans too.
He
like
really
food
does.
drives and
He cares so much.
But Nick gave the update on the West Hampton for me, Senior Center, the Rec Center. So I don't have to say anything about that.
Yeah, we're glad that's moving along.
I met with the Parks Director, Christine Dula, and John Irwin up in Ludlow Park about the trees, about replanting some more trees, doing something with cleaning up the back corner, triangle piece of property there. That's where we found some nice osprey poles back there.
Oh, good.
So she's gonna, when they go to come to us looking for some money to clean that up and see what they can do with that corner piece. Because right now people are sleeping back there and they use it for a shortcut. And it's a lot of garbage back there where the neighbors just keep on dumping it back there. We have some ideas, maybe a community garden, maybe a dog park, or just open space. So we're gonna, I'll bring that back to you in the next month or so.
Oh, good.
And bring it to Frank and see what they want.
Yeah, yeah. We want to be fair to the neighbors and keep the
be
park
fair to the
clean.
neighbors, keep it clean. We plant some trees, fix the fences.
Thank you for checking into that. All right, well, if there's no more comments, then I move to go into executive session to discuss acquisitions, confidential legal advice, and personnel.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.